fight, or the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
This is ESPN 1025 The Game. From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Chase Elliott scores the win in the Ally 400 at the Nashville Superspeedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 1025 and 1063.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Now let's see if we can bring them to life, all right?
Bringing you entertainment and informative sports talk during your workday.
Smart, funny, classy, and I like him a lot.
This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase with Chase McCabe, Willy Donick,
Mason, touchdown, Tennessee.
and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason on Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 1063 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
This is a new level of geek you got going on here.
Good Monday, everybody. Welcome in. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game. Hope you're having a great start to your day so far. We're streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, and our video streaming presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Chase McCabe, Willy Donick, Derek Mason with you. The preseason is done. Week 0 is done. Vanderbilt is 1-0. Dogs and cats getting along. Everything is great on a Monday. Fellas, how we doing?
Doing well. I think that's just sort of a misnomer that cats and dogs don't get along. Because they do. I've seen a bunch of cats and dogs get along.
Yeah. I know. Mine get along.
See? I think those days of dogs and cats fighting are over. You know, they come together. They're
Not in my
bonding.
house.
Not in your house, Willie?
No, we got a problem.
Wow.
Yeah, you said you have to keep them separate.
We got to keep them. Yeah, we can't put them in the same.
They always fighting?
Yeah.
Man.
But
They must didn't get the memo.
Attacks.
Did they not get the memo that cats and dogs are in agreement now?
We need therapy.
Yeah, I guess so. They have not gotten the memo, Willie.
We need to get a pet therapist in there and talk to our three, our cat and our 2 dogs about making it easier on the family.
Are they on the cutting edge of things? Are the dogs and cats on the cutting edge of things?
Not in a good way.
They still feuding like the Hatfields and McCoys.
We got this one, our smaller dog, who's not that much bigger than the cat, because the cats, we have a pretty big cat. Stanley's pretty big. He just likes to harass him. He just get up
He's
and starts
an
barking.
agitator.
Just starts
He's
barking
an
at him.
agitator.
Keeps his distance. He knows he doesn't want to get clawed in the face, but just goes up and corners him and just starts barking until, like, he can bark forever.
He's
If
an
he sees a
agitator.
possum out in the yard, he's just going to harass him.
That's never good.
Never stops.
So we start things off with news already. Obviously, the NFL, every team has to be down to 53 by 3 o'clock tomorrow. Cuts already starting. And unfortunately, I don't think this is a big surprise. Adam Schefter reporting that Titans have informed longtime punter Brett Kern that they are releasing him per a source. Kern has punted for the Titans since 2009. Ryan Stonehouse from Colorado State looks like he has won the job.
Surprise, not surprise, I guess. Stonehouse did a really good job at punting this past weekend.
He can boom it, man.
And now he in Now he just has to learn the nuances of punting in the NFL. It's not just, just kick with all your strength and kick the ball out the back of the end zone. It's placement, putting the ball exactly where you want to put it, getting teams backed up inside of their 10-yard line. And Kern was good at that. And I'm thinking that the Titans figure that not only with Stonehouse, strong leg, he has shown the ability to I think he had a kick this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. He had a kick this weekend that was inside the 10.
Yeah,
I know he had
He
one
did a good
last
job.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had one last week. So I think they're good with his consistency as far as that. My only concern is the preseason is different from the regular season. And when there's 60,000 fans in the stadium or 65 or 70,000 in another stadium and you're in the back of the end zone, how do you then punt, or if we need that punt inside the 10-yard line at a crucial time of the game, how then do you, go out and make that happen? That's the only thing I'm worried about. But the kid has a strong leg, and congratulations to him.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting when camp started, and then you saw him and kind of thought, all right, he can boom it. But I still was like, this isn't a competition. Like, this is still Brett's job. Brett's been here, took a pay cut to stay, and I kind of thought, all right, this is just a guy that they brought into camp. But then as you watched it go along, it became apparent that, oh no, this is a competition, that this kid could come in here and actually take this job. And it looks like, according to Adam Schefter, that's what has happened. Now, I do wonder what's next for Brett Kern. He is from Buffalo. Buffalo is in need of a punter, so that's a pretty easy dot to connect. Or I believe the way he restructured his deal, that it is guaranteed, so he could basically be done and just enjoy.
I take a pay cut. I never understood that, unless you're going to guarantee me on the team, or in this situation, obviously, if he's getting his money, then it really don't matter. But why take a pay cut? Because I've seen it before. Guys take pay cuts, then they end up getting cut.
Yeah, it's a cruel part of the salary cap in the NFL, where they can move the money around. Now, I'm just looking at Spot Track. They just put in their assessment of Kern salary cap wise, and we talked about this a few weeks ago. And I said it. I said you cannot overestimate the salary cap implications when you have a guy making the league minimum, which is a rookie, Stonehouse, $700,000, as opposed to Brett Kern, $2.75 million. So Brett Kern's release leaves behind $550,000 of dead cap space. Right. So they free up $2.2 million of cap space. That's not nothing. That is significant if you think it's close. And I'll give you the guy that has been preaching this all along throughout this process too. I'll give him credit. Corey Curtis is, if you think this guy can be a punter for the next, even if it's only 5 to 7 years, forget about 10 years or 12 years like a Kern or a Craig Hentrick, it's pretty easy. It's a pretty easy decision. If you believe this guy's got the mental makeup to go with the physical tools. There's no question he's got the physical tools. But if he's backed up in Buffalo, it's windy, they're in that end zone, it's big, you need a big punt. That's where we're going to find out. That's where we're going to find out if this kid's got it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, you're right. That's why, it's congratulations to the young man. But it's also, hey, wait and see. But I don't think he's given any indication that, he's going to sort of freeze up in a big moment. But it was preseason, so you never know.
Let me ask you this, Derek. And I think to your point, Willie, finding a guy that, you had Craig Hentrick for almost for a decade or more. You had Brett Kern for a decade or more. I look at that and go, that would be great for punter, because punter's important, but that's also a position you don't want to worry about on a daily basis. Like,
no, you don't.
You want to kind of sit it and forget it, and that's what they have been able to do to this point. But Derek, I'll ask this: what if Stonehouse is a little shaky in the first couple weeks?
There's nothing you can do.
But
you made your choice.
Sure, but Brett's sitting at home.
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure, Brett's ego wouldn't get in the way of him if he is sitting at home. The Titans say, hey, listen, we would like to sign you back. I'm pretty sure he would jump at the opportunity. That's if he's not on another team. The one thing I will say about the Tennessee Titans, that organization, there's two positions that historically, since they've been in Nashville, or probably even a little bit further back, but at least since they've been in Nashville, that they've always seemed to have gotten right. And this year is kind of teetering. It's been the tackle positions and the kickers. They've had 3 punters in over 20 years with these organizations. 3 punters in over 20 years.
And really 2 since 1998.
Yeah, because Reggie Roby came in from the Houston days.
Yeah.
But 2, if you're counting them being the Tennessee Titans. And then at offensive tackle, either tackle position, they've been able to get by. Not necessarily, when I say get by, I don't mean that as a bad thing. They haven't had to worry about those positions for a very long time. And now that position is sort of a question mark because we don't, and we'll get more into this too. We don't know exactly what Nicholas Petit-Frere is going to be during the season. Mm-hmm. And then we don't know if Stonehouse is going to be the kicker for the foreseeable future. We just don't know. It's everything's those two positions right now it's a question mark. So
So the first thing Brett Kern is going to have to decide is, does he want to jump in with another team, or does he want to retire? Mm-hmm. Because I feel like there will be a chance.
He'll get an opportunity
for him to get a job, right? The Buffalo one is an obvious one. Are the Colts settled on a punter? Their guy got.
I mean, look, I think there would be options for Brett Kern, for sure.
Yeah, but what's in his? He may need to take a couple days, but does he want it? Does he want to punt? If he wants to punt, I think he'll have a job.
Yeah, I think too. And sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I think you know this better than anybody, Derek. Because you've said it on this show that when you got to your last year, you knew it was your last year.
Exactly.
And you knew that physically you could still play.
Yeah, but mentally you were done. I was done.
I don't know where he's at on that.
Yeah, I can tell you this. There are 2 things for Brett Kern. If you're sort of if it's not resolute in your mind that you need to retire, then you need to continue to play. If it's not okay, I'm done. I'm physically, yes, I can do it, but mentally, because football after a while becomes a mental thing. And if you're not into it mentally, then just step aside, Yeah, you could possibly do it physically, but mentally you're not there, and you're not going to help your team if you're not all in mentally. And then number 2 is, yes, you have a lot of options, but there's only certain options you want. And what I mean by that is you want to win a championship. So if the Jets need a kicker, I'm not going to the Jets. I'm just not, because if the Giants need a kicker, I'm not going to the Giants. Why? Because they're in no position to get in the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. I don't want to spend my last year on a team just for the sake of being on a team.
Mm-hmm. And that's what's interesting about the Bills.
Exactly.
Right?
That's
it. He has ties to the area.
That's a good,
and that's a really good team.
Absolutely, that's a good team. That's a good opportunity for him, not only to be in the playoffs, but ultimately get into the Super Bowl.
Coming up next, there are more cuts that are being reported for the Titans, so we'll get you those. Plus, we're going to go position group by position group, and Derek is going to look into his crystal ball and tell us who's making the 53-man roster for the Tennessee Titans. That is all coming up next. We're up and running here on a Monday. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
2, 3, 4, look.
High school football is here. Join Big Joe Dubin every Friday night at 6 for the Game Blitz, presented by Apple Collision Centers.
Just a small sample of these great coaches in our area.
We'll go around the mid-state for scores and reports on all the big games.
If I'm a high school coach, I want the challenge.
The Game Blitz is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey football fans, Patrick Mahomes here, and I'm here to tell you that with NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV, you can watch your favorite team no matter where you live. Because NFL Sunday Ticket gives you every live out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon. So switch to DirecTV and learn how to get the 2022 NFL Sunday Ticket season included at no extra cost. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
With choice package and above, 24-month agreement required. Call for details.
Hey, it's Big Joe on the go. Look, I get it. Nobody likes being in a car accident, but when that happens, make it easy on yourself and call Apple Collision Centers so you don't have to stress. They're locally owned with 3 convenient locations in O'Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Apple Collision Centers managers combined for 60-plus years experience, and they only recommend original equipment parts on your vehicle. So, if you're in need of a repair today or down the road, just head over to Apple Collision Centers. Stan and his team will take great care of you. Online, applecollisioncenters.com.
Folks, Joe Rexford here, inviting you to be ready for game day when college football kicks off this week. Right now, new customers get $150 in free bets guaranteed for week 1. Just place a $5 bet, you can get $150 in free bets, win or lose. You can go same game parlay, live betting, all kinds of odds boosts. You can go national championship futures. I know this week the big game, Tennessee, Ball State. I would go ahead and give those points and go with the Vols. I think they're going to roll and put up a lot of points in that game. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, now's the perfect time to give it a shot. See for yourself why it's America's #1 sportsbook. Download the app, sign up today with promo code Joe102. Place a $5 bet to get $150 in free bets guaranteed to kick off the football season. Again, the FanDuel Sportsbook app, promo code Joe102. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbet.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
It's on. It's happening.
Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way, I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Most in the league, and Kern gets a line drive punt away. That's bounding to a halt at the 1. Perfection.
There you go, CBS Sports, Brett Kern. The punts that you heard and saw for many, many years in Tennessee, looks like that is coming to an end. Multiple sources now reporting the Titans have informed longtime punter Brett Kern that he will be released as a part of roster cuts. It means Ryan Stonehouse will be the new punter for the Tennessee Titans. Some other names that I've seen out there, Adrian Colbert, who is a safety that they signed in early August. They are supposedly releasing him. Tyree Gillespie that they actually acquired via trade. He is being reported to be released as well.
See, isn't that weird that you would trade for a guy?
I agree.
Give up a draft pick and then cut him before he ever plays a game.
That's the world of football, Willie.
But I mean, how many? They did it also with the gentleman from, why am I blanking on his name?
Ugo Amadi?
Ugo Amadi, yeah. So are they going to cut him too? I mean, how many draft
I
picks
don't
are we
think
giving
so.
away here?
I think he makes the team.
Well, we'll see.
Gillespie must have been very disappointing when he got there.
I mean,
they traded a pick.
I know.
I mean, they can always throw him on the practice squad.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. And
Yeah.
look, Mike Vrabel said yesterday that he felt like this was going to be a process that, you go through cuts and then you see, who else is getting cut around the league and work the waiver wire. I mean, we know that whatever the 53-man roster is tomorrow at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock is probably not going to be the 53-man roster on September 11th when they open the season.
And that the second, I do think this is something that the Titans have done very well and are in a position to do well again with guys like that, with Gillespie. The secondary, I was thinking that as I was watching the game. They are really good at coming up with guys. They get a bank of players. And you obviously can't keep them all, right? Because if you try to stash somebody on the practice squad, another team can snap them up at any time. But if you get enough of them, you've got this almost minor league system. That's how they survived playing 91 players last year. So I feel like the Sammy Kalous and the Gillespies, they have a wave of guys that you could envision if they had to go to a couple of them, they could get the job done for them. They're pretty good at knowing what a guy can do, how he fits in the system, and where can we stash this guy. So I think that's something there that is a good skill that not every team excels in. And that's where I guess they feel like, all right, look, we gave up a draft pick. It hasn't worked out yet. We'll see if he still hangs around. We'll put him on the practice squad. If somebody else gets him, then we'll move on. We got other guys.
Yep. I'm seeing offensive lineman Willy Wright, who's been in camp, Hayden Howerton, who's been in camp. They're among the cuts, which you've never heard of them, so that should probably be.
Those are the easy ones.
Yeah. Adrian Colbert, I can't remember if I said that earlier. He was a free safety that has been around. He's a veteran in this league, but I don't even remember hearing his name called in camp. So, but he's one that's being released. So, there's going to be a lot of guys that are not surprising at all that they were camp bodies, and then, throughout the league, there's always a surprise. But as we talked about earlier, I think Brett Kern became less and less of a surprise as things went on because of the competition with Stonehouse. But going by the position groups, and Derek, I'm going to save quarterback because I have a feeling that's going to take up a lot of time to discuss that. But as you watch the final preseason game and you do your evaluation, we'll start with the position you played in wide receiver. What do you think the number is first? 5, 6, 7?
It'll be hard to keep 7. If you're keeping 7, you're keeping basically everybody that has been in camp for you. Obviously, we know Robert Woods, Nick Westbrook-Akine, Kyle Phillips, and Traden Burks. We know those 4 guys have roster spots. Des Fitzpatrick didn't help himself this weekend. He dropped 2 passes, and both were from Woodside. A in route that should have been caught. Nice delivery. Yes, it might have been a fastball, but he should have caught it.
Yeah, I agree.
It hit his hands. And then the one in the end zone. Nice route, excellent throw, and instead of trying to catch it with your hands, you try to catch it with your body and your arms, and the ball just bounced off his arms and out of bounds. So he didn't help himself at all, Des Fitzpatrick. Racey McMath had a few good plays this past weekend. I think you can pencil him in as a guy that makes makes this roster. So, Mason Kinsey played really well during the Arizona game. He had 3 or 4 catches. So I think the last spots are Mason Kinsey, Des Fitzpatrick, and Reggie Robertson. I can see now Des Fitzpatrick was a 4th-round pick, if I'm not mistaken, last year. So they may give him another opportunity. Hell, they've gave Ratings an opportunity as well. They might as well give him one at least to redeem himself because he seemed to be a good receiver, just had a bad game. So I think they keep 6, not 7. 7 is a stretch for me.
Kinsey's not going to make it because he and Kyle Phillips are basically the same player.
Exactly.
So I think Kinsey is for
and
sure.
they both
practice
do the same thing, returns and play the slot. So.
I like Robertson,
Mm-hmm.
but I think honestly, Derek, in my opinion, it's down between Fitzpatrick and Hollister.
You think
for that last spot?
It could be. And again, Fitzpatrick didn't hurt him. He didn't help himself this weekend.
And Hollister's had a pretty good camp.
Exactly. He make those 2 catches. You pencil him in as you ink him in, not pencil. You ink him in at those roster spots. But because he couldn't make those 2 catches, sometimes your last, impression is the impression they go with.
I'm curious if McMath has gotten to the point, because I think McMath and his special teams ability, we knew he was a fit there. I'm wondering if he's gotten to the point with his development that he can actually figure in the game plan.
Mm-hmm.
With some special.
I think they can.
When he gets in there, will they actually look for him? Will they actually call some plays for him? Because he's got some tools. I'm not sure. Or if he's just, hey, if somebody else is hurt, that's we'll have to use him, and hopefully he'll be able to do the job.
Because when I look at the receiver position, the Titans receiver position, and I don't want to say this as if I'm, slighting the guys, because I think, you make a roster and you're getting playing time, then you're good enough to, be in this league. But I don't think there's certain teams you look and you look at the receivers and they're different. This guy does this really well.
Right.
This guy does this really well. And these guys are just, all of them are the same, with the exception of Kyle Phillips. What I can do with Robert Woods, I can do with Traylon Burks. I can do with Nick Westbrook-Akina. I can do Akine. I can do with Dez Fitzpatrick. I can do with Racey McMath. Well, not necessarily. Well, I can do with Racey McMath. But there's nothing, had we got Robert Woods 3 years ago, then that would have been a big difference. Because he does things, before his injury, he excelled at a lot of things. But there's nothing different about these receivers. They all are just they're good players, but do they put fear in the defensive back's eyes,
Not
the secondary
today.
eyes?
I don't think any of them do today. I do wonder if McMath, because he's got pretty good speed, right? Is he a guy that you could put in there?
He's the only guy that can stretch the field.
Because that's what they've lacked. They've lacked that.
Real quick, I have to correct us because people are yelling at us
about the draft pick.
Yeah, some are saying that we need to know our facts. So Duke of Earl, we
yeah.
know our facts. Okay, 4 hours a day.
Should we need to play? Do we need to, in this guy's honor? Do we need to play Duke of Earl?
Play Duke of Earl. You come do this 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. Let's see how you do. Twitter warrior. But it is a conditional draft pick.
So they'll get the pick back.
So they get the pick
make
back.
The team. Okay, that makes more sense.
By cutting.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It was conditional on him making the team.
Sorry, Duke. Sorry, bro.
Hey, we can't get everything right, man.
Sometimes stuff slips through the cracks.
Exactly.
Man. It's a 4-hour show.
I know. Look.
Know your facts.
I'm sure.
Conditional pick.
I'm sure at your job some things slip through the cracks too. Hey.
I mean,
but no, we got great listeners and texters, and they call in to correct us a little bit.
I looked at the text line. I'm like, why is this blowing up? Oh, okay, this is why.
That's good, man. We need to get checked every once in a while.
All right, coming up next, we'll continue Derek's evaluation of what the 53-man roster could look like, including the tight end position and, oh, yes, the offensive line. That is all coming up next as you listen to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
ESPN Titans NFL Nation reporter Teron Davenport brings knowledge.
3 touchdowns. He was processing, getting rid of the ball quickly.
Passion.
Make no mistake about it. He absolutely has to hit the ground running.
And expertise on the two-tone blue and the NFL. Join TD every Monday at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Friday morning at 8 for all the latest on your favorite team. Teron Davenport is presented by Craneworks on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, the beach is just the beginning. Because here, there's so much more to explore. So let's paddle, and maybe even parasail. Let's hit the trails, the coffee shops, the quaint boutiques, and craft breweries. And then let's indulge in some fresh seafood with a sea view. From the Gulf Coast to the Bay, there's something for every taste and every interest. So let's make the most of every sun-drenched minute, and let's shine. Start planning your next escape at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Men, are you asking yourself questions like, why am I gaining fat? Why is my energy or sex drive down and maybe haven't been getting the exercise you need? If you want to get back to the man you used to be but just don't have that youthful energy, that edge you once had, you very well might have low testosterone. Low T causes all kinds of issues, from a reduced libido, lower drive, and bad sleep patterns to problems with muscle gain, bone density, and more. It may even contribute to erectile dysfunction, and if this sounds like you, it's probably time to get treated for your low T. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've treated thousands of men for low T. We've seen them put on muscle, add to their energy, improve their sex lives, get better sleep, and just feel better. Plus, if you're like most men, you'll see results in only a few weeks. So make an appointment today and experience how testosterone therapy can truly change your life. Your initial appointment is only $99 with results in minutes. Call today, 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments extra, results vary.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am Hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN. Welcome into Chase, Willy, and D-Mase.
Somebody company is delivered. There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming. Get the extra point, no problem. And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, Nashville, it's Mike Greenberg, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase. 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Clearly, we have a very young rookie producer that has never heard the song Duke of Earl because he is
Hey, cut the young man some slack.
Cut him some slack.
What are we?
I'm learning as Nick Keyser, our producer, as we go with him. You know, we're obviously
the
older.
age gap is there,
and you guys are older than me, but like I like older music, so when you said Duke of Earl, I knew the song that you were talking about.
Which is in
Nick
his
goes and
I thought we was getting ready to go to
Earl.
Buckingham Palace. That's what I thought. I thought the Queen was coming through. I was about to stand up. I mean, I don't know. I mean, am I wrong? We love you, Nick. We love you.
That was the highest viewed thing, okay? Give me some slack, but yeah.
The song we were looking for is by Gene Chandler.
Which, in Nick's defense, that was like from the 1950s or early 60s, something like that, right? What year was Duke of Earl?
1961.
Yeah, I think whatever Nick pulled out was from like 1551. That was from 1551. We're looking from 1961.
I am like in tears right now.
All hail the Queen.
God save our Queen.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it. We appreciate that.
Yes. See, this is all stemming from a tweet that we felt like had a little angst to it, a little edge to it, and we don't want to upset our fine listeners. So
exactly.
I'd like to apologize to Duke of Earl, who tweeted us, "Hey guys, know your facts."
Did Do you think he said it that loud? Like, know your facts. Like demonstrative.
I'm just trying to feel. That's the thing about a tweet. You don't know if it's angry or he's just kind of ribbing us. But the Duke of Earl said, "Hey guys, know your facts." There was no exclamation point, but there could have been. You know.
Yeah.
Now he says, "Big fan of the show. That was hilarious. Thanks for listening, Duke."
so we want to apologize to the Duke, and we hope he'll keep listening because it was a 2024 7th-round conditional pick that the Titans traded to the Raiders for Gillespie, who they have now let go. Yeah. So they will get the pick back. Mm-hmm. So that's good news. So the Duke is keeping us straight. It sounds like the Duke's cool with us. Okay, that's good.
Duke's cool with us.
We appreciate the Duke. Yeah.
So now we've talked Nick Keyser. Now we've not talked. Now Nick Keyser knows about the song. It's a great song.
Yeah, it is.
Here's what I appreciate about you, Nick, is because you do know that like we're older and stuff, and you're trying to be hip and you're trying to be with us. And you didn't even ask, like, hey, who did that song? You just went for it, and I appreciate that.
Well, Nick is
a great segment on the show.
Nick is hipped. It's us that are not.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're calling for. You don't know about the 1961 song, Duke of Earl?
Yeah, but once Chase and Willy get a TikTok, then they're mainstream D-Mase.
I don't even have TikTok on my phone. You send these TikToks all the time, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with
These
this.
are valuable clips.
It was a valuable clip.
I hate TikTok. Are you on TikTok?
Yeah, I never use it. Only time I go on it is when Nick sends them, because before I couldn't read them. So then I had to go, and now I can read them.
Maybe I just need to make one just for that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
anyway,
it's good because there's valuable content on TikTok.
Back to the roster.
Yes, let's go.
After the Duke of Earl.
Okay.
The tight end position, we know Austin Hooper, we know Chigakonkwo, we know Jeff Swaim. Do you think 3 is enough, or do you think a 4th could be possible?
I think 3 is enough. I can't see them unless they, want to run a bunch of 2 tights a lot of times, which I think under the, circumstances with the offensive line, I think they may have to run 2 tights more than what they have previously. So 3 to me is the number, but they could potentially keep 4.
Okay, which would be probably Tommy Hudson.
Yeah.
And we talked. This is a theme we've discussed throughout training camp. What ends up being the prevailing formation that they like to run?
Mm-hmm.
How much 2 tight end set?
Exactly.
How much 3 wide set? Some of that might really factor in to that exact thing. How many tight ends do I keep? Where does the fullback come into play here? All of these things they have to consider in a room when they piece together everything.
Right. All right, Derek, offensive line. Good luck. Get after it.
Okay. We assume by what we've seen that the starters, Taylor Lewan, Aaron Brewer, Ben Jones, Nate Davis, and Nicholas Petit-Fier. Jamarco Jones is in there, Corey Levine, Dylan Radins. So what are we up to now? 7 offensive linemen? I said
Radins
7.
would make 8.
8. Radins would make 8. I can see them. I think they keep Radins just because they don't have depth. Now, it could change depending on what guys are cut. This particular position could change. It could fluctuate. But right now, the guys that I named along with Dylan, I think that is the 8 offensive linemen that the Titans will go into the first game with. Dylan Radins still didn't impress me, even at playing guard. He had a few good plays, but as a whole, he's not good enough. If the Titans' offensive line depth was better, he would be gone. But because the offensive line depth isn't, it's almost you make the team by default. Because at guard, he played, I think, into the 3rd quarter. He had maybe 2 or 3 decent plays. Other than that, he was getting ran through, pushed back. It just seems like he doesn't at times know what to do out there. And this is your second year. How is it that you don't know what to do? You know, it seemed like everybody else, Nicholas Petit-Frere has figured it out. I'm sure he still has his rookie, woes, but it seemed that he's figured it out. Why can't you figure it out? That's I don't get. It's either you're coaching it or you're allowing it to happen.
Right.
One of the two. And it seems like he just has he has no clue a lot of times. And I don't need to have an offensive lineman at this second year to where I gotta worry about whether he knows what to do or not. And then sometimes his effort is not there either. So he's one of those guys you keep by default because of the offensive line situation.
Let me ask a question that has not been discussed because Radens has taken up so much of the conversation and Petit-Frere's emergence winning that job. What do we think they have in Jamarco Jones? To me, that's a big question that he hasn't really played enough for us to be able to take a look and see what we think. Not that we know everything about what would be. I mean, I can speak for myself. I wouldn't know what I was looking for that much, but that's a guy they signed to figure into this equation. I'm guessing he's going to make the team, but he's been hurt for a while. So what do they think of him? Because that will figure in to how far they stretch to go get depth when all the cuts are made. We all kind of assume they're going to be looking around.
Sure.
Yeah, obviously they're going to be looking around. That's why I believe this position will fluctuate a little bit.
And I think somebody like Jalen McKenzie could potentially make it. I know he's had a nice camp as a tackle, as a backup.
A backup tackle. But then again, they can put some of these guys, one or two guys on practice squad too.
Yeah.
But this is still a position that hasn't truly been solidified. It really hasn't. And it's still a position that you worry about because, listen, Malik Willis was running around for his life too much this past weekend, too much the weekend prior, and obviously too much the first preseason game. So they have not gotten better because we haven't seen, Ben, Taylor, Davis all together in one game. Now, first game of the season, this might look a little different because those three guys will be back in the starting lineup. But as of now, this is a question mark. This can be their Achilles heel moving forward unless they bring in someone else.
Yeah, which I think they're going to end up bringing in
somebody
else. But that's just me.
I think we would all kind of be looking around going,
yeah,
they didn't bring anybody else in? Like, you know what I mean?
But here's the thing. Like, they've been looking for a right tackle for 4 years. So, I mean,
and that is an interesting thing, just retrospectively, because of your thing about the history of tackles for this franchise, I think was dead on, but they made a really interesting decision. Like, remember back in the day, they kind of let Jack Conklin
When they let Jack Conklin go, that was
it started
the
by
of
not
the
picking
end.
up the fifth year option, which I was thinking they should have back at the time, just for whatever that was worth. They let him go. He was going to be expensive. We know that. But there's something to be said for when you got a guy, hang on to him. But they felt like it was going to be too expensive to have him. But since then, it's been kind of a revolving door. They whiffed on Isaiah Wilson. Radens wasn't the answer. Let's hope Petit-Frere is the answer. But they've been trying some different things. Fortunately, they could, the old reliable Dennis Kelly got him by for a while, right? Quesenberry got him by, but they haven't had a strength there at that position for a few years now, ever since they let Conklin go.
Well, they are getting what they paid for.
Yes.
Since they let Conklin walk, a few years ago. And now it's been a revolving door with the right tackle position.
And the Isaiah Wilson thing was obviously
a debacle.
Just not. You could never have foreseen just how bad that was going to go.
Teron Davenport will join us at 11. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans' cuts and what to expect there. We'll also talk to Ryan McGee of ESPN, talk some college football with him. But coming up next, Derek's thoughts on the quarterback position outside of Ryan Tannehill, plus Adam. Hang on, we'll get to you as well. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus. High temperatures today in the low 90s. Adding in the humidity, feels closer to 100 this afternoon, and the chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms move in this afternoon through this evening and continue through tomorrow morning.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Jim Jeffries.
Here's the thing about millennials.
Live on stage.
You're the worst people that have ever lived.
Saturday, October 8th at Ryman Auditorium. Tickets on sale now at AXS.com. Produced by Outback Presents.
We gather together in communities across the nation to remember and honor, to celebrate and support, to light the night. We are LLS, and when we walk, cancer runs. Find your local event at lightthenight.org.
Robbie Stanley.
They get a lead in that game and just totally close the door.
Joe Rexrode.
If he plays next year, it's disastrous.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Teron Davenport coming up in a few minutes. We're live at the Hillside Medical Games Studios. And a reminder that Silly Underdog Picks is back. You can sign up today at thegamenashville.com or on the 102.5 The Game app. Silly Underdog Picks is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. We'll get it going Thursday with our expert picks. Looking forward to that. Adam has a comment on our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Adam, welcome in.
Hey, Chase, man. So, yeah, I don't think I ever would expect to get sentimental about a punter in the league, but you got to think everything Kern's been through, man. Like, I like Stonehouse. Number one, I like my kickers to be spunky. I like him. Yeah, he's got the dirt mustache. His name's Stonehouse. All that's cool to me. But at the same time, man, I'm sitting here going, you know, Kern, he's been like Superman for us, right? Like, he's been so durable. He's the only one that's went from like Fisherball to Munchak to the other Mike to, you know, Wisenhunt to all these coaches. He survived that horrible team where he was like the only good player. Him and Mark Mariani were the only good players on the team at one point. And like, he was just the one constant. So he was a pro when he was doing it. I'm sure you guys saw his interview on the sideline. He was a pro through that. He probably felt it coming. He really touted Stonehouse and was like, I've only heard 3 or 4 people kick a ball the way he kicks it. So he's just awesome, man. I just want to say it was awesome having that guy.
Yep, no doubt. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it. And with Kern's impending release, Taylor Lewan is now the longest tenured Titan.
At what, 10 years? 9 years? 9?
Well, I think this is year 9 for him.
Okay. Wow.
If I had to guess. By the way, I haven't mentioned this yet. Happy birthday to 102.5 The Game. 11 years since we have been a radio station today.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Last year, we had the big 10-year anniversary show, right?
Yes.
We blew out the 10th year. So 11, not quite as exciting.
Should
but,
be exciting, too.
Legit. We made it another year, man.
Listen.
Yeah.
As long as we're on air, it's exciting.
Yep. But I do want to echo what the guy said about Brett Kern.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
not
guy.
only that he was a great player, great at what he did, but he represented so well, which is what you love to see, right? I'll always remember he came up and was part of our series of guest commentators for a Predators game. I had no idea he was such a huge hockey fan, but he loved following the team. He fit in perfect with us. He's always been a great interview. He's done a lot of different things to help people. He's just a class guy, no question. So we certainly wish him well. It will be weird if he is picked up by one of the rival teams, if that's what he wants to do. And he's
I am
against
curious
the Titans.
of that, of what he would want to do. But Time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Derek. 2 or 3 QBs. You said it last week that you thought Malik Willis was the backup.
You know, I went back. I watched the game originally, bits and pieces of it, Saturday. Then I went back again Sunday and rewatched just mainly the offense. I did watch some defense series, but I really wanted to watch the offense. And I said this last week. I said, you know, Malik Willis in his first game, he looked like a rookie. They had a lot of coaching up to do. Second game, they did all that coaching, and he listened. But there were some things he, you know, as a rookie, he still, you knew
didn't get a lot of protection.
Absolutely. So then they went back to the table again. You know, film Roy, these are the things you need to do. And what did I say? I said, if he listens to what they got to say, he takes what he's learned in the classroom and he implements it on the field, and he improves in the third game, then there's no question that he's the backup quarterback. And what did he do? He went out and he got better. He didn't regress. He got better each game. And that's what you want to see a rookie quarterback or rookie in general do, is to take what you're teaching him in the classroom and implement it on the field. He was able to do that. His ears have some throws. The throw to Mason Kinsey, was it Mason Kinsey in the end zone that he threw behind him? Should have been a touchdown. He had one where he rolled out to his left. He had a little rush, but he short-armed it, and he threw it in front of Mason Kinsey again, like a foot in front of him. Then he had a deep pass that he threw to, I think it was Dez Fitzpatrick, or it might have been Robeson, where if he puts it a little bit further in front of him, it's a long gain. It's a gain about 30 yards. Mm-hmm. But he threw it out basically out of bounds. So he had 3 or 4 throws in there that you think, okay, as he started to learn, he'd get better. But then he had some really good throws. Yeah. As a rookie quarterback, he had some really good throws. So that showed me that he was able to get out of the pocket, make some big runs. And then what I liked from him most was, I think it was on the crossing route to Traylon Burks. It looked like you thought he was going to run, but I think in his mind he was looking to pass, and run was his last option.
Yes.
So again, he's listening to the coaches, and he's taking that and he's implementing it on the field. There's no way that he should not be the second-string quarterback, because Woodside, I don't know what it is with him, but it seemed like once he got real competition, he shrunk. He did not play the way we saw him play last year during the preseason, even though he was a young player. But it almost seemed like he regressed in a sense. And Willis took full advantage of it. So, to me, Willis is your quarterback. And if they need him for a game, I think he can get back for a game if Tannehill doesn't play.
If they think that, then I think it's pretty obvious what they're going to do, that they would try to maybe keep Woodside on the practice squad. That would be, if they're that confident, if it's that close. And then you roll the dice and you hope he doesn't get snatched up, Woodside, which could happen. You have to be prepared for that, and then you'd have to prepare for, okay, if that happened, who else is out there and how do they compare to a Woodside? I would characterize it like this with Willis. The thing that you hit on there to me was big, that I saw now a little dimension of I can run. Everybody in the stadium knows he can run. Mm-hmm. But when he starts to run and then pulls up and hits a couple of guys downfield, to me, that was exciting. So if you took the best 6 to 10 plays that he had, you got a highlight reel of some really, really exciting stuff, right? The 50-yard run, all of the runs that he has, the sidearm throw with the pressure in his face, the pulling up and firing it right in stride. He's got some really good things in there. But there was also a ton of room to grow. And I'm just trying to envision him this year in a game for real, and I'm still not 100% sure. But I am coming around to the idea. I thought it was a no possibility
I thought that
of
too.
keeping him as the second string guy and rolling the dice and risking losing Woodside. If you do try to plant Woodside on the practice squad, as long as nobody snaps him up, you could still then make the decision that if the time came, he could still be the backup if you wanted him to. So the question is, are you just willing to take the risk that somebody pulls a Luke Falk? Remember they drafted Luke Falk, and they're like, we'll just put him on the practice squad. Nobody's going to take him. And the Dolphins took him. It does happen. Like there was Tyrod Taylor just got injured. I don't know how bad that is, but there's always a sort of a revolving door of quarterbacks that come and go, and there's a need for guys who are out on the street. So what is Woodside's value on the street?
Right. William on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, ain't nobody snatching up Logan Woodside. Is what he says.
I can't.
Well, you can think that all you want, but how do we know it?
It does happen.
I think the odds of
Did you think Luke Falk was going to be?
No, but I also didn't care. So.
Yeah, but I don't think Logan Woodside has shown anything that makes you think or makes the Titans think that, okay, if we release him, it can happen. Somebody can pick him up, but the likelihood, I think he'll be back in the Titans uniform on the practice squad.
I will say this about Malik Willis. Now, I'm not doing a comparison. He's not Steve McNair. Never going to be Steve McNair. There's only one Steve McNair. But watching some of those highlight reel plays, like there was one in the second preseason game where he rolled out, they had him, he rolled back the other way, and it reminded me of that play of the Super Bowl. If he can hone in of when to use his legs, like Steve did, and work on the accuracy and get stronger, like you got to feel really good about what the future looks like with Malik Willis. It's just that voice in your head of saying, I can use my legs, but do I absolutely need to right now? And finding that balance.
I think he will. I think the more he gets acclimated to the NFL way of playing, the more he sees Ryan Tannehill out there in a game that means something. I think he'll start to learn, okay, this is when I can run it. This is when maybe I shouldn't. So because I charted, I charted basically all 8 series he was in. It may have been 9. And that first series, he hit Burks. And what did I say about Burks? You need to get him involved early. And they did. He hit Burks. Then he hit
surprised he played.
Yeah, then he hit Robert Woods, and then he hit Burks on that crossing route. So he started off his first series really good.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, coming up next, Teron Davenport going to join us. We'll get his thoughts on things. But first, D-Mase, tell us about BetUS.
Yes, I am going to tell you guys about BetUS in here it is, right?
Little stall there.
Yeah, little stall here. Okay. I got to put on my glasses. That's one thing I don't have on. But attention, sports fans, your favorite sports book, BetUS.com is back for their 28th year of NFL action with the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%. BetUS offers their members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite leagues, including the NFL, which we just got finished talking about, the Titans, the NBA, which we will talk about, MLB, which Willy loves, and Chase, and more. They've got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest European slots, and their live dealers are waiting for you at the table. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity, and you need to know that you will get paid. You need a sport book that offers everything, including live betting, MMA, golf, horse racing, esports, and all kinds of crazy bets. Call today at 1-800-79-BET-US. That's 1-800-79-BET-US, and they will walk you through setting up an account. No one, and I mean no one in the industry gives better bonuses than BetUS. Join now, mention BetUS 2022, and you can get up to 200% of bonuses on your first deposit. Nobody beats that. Head to BetUS.com and join today. That's BetUS, where the games begin.
The MTSU Blue Raiders live here.
Down, Middle Tennessee. 3 ball, yes sir.
us in on 97.5.
In the end zone, caught, touchdown!
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Arthritis and rheumatic conditions are leading causes of disabilities among adults. Joint replacement could be the solution. The team at Houston Clinic Orthopedics approaches each case with a complete evaluation to see if surgery is right for you. Houston Clinic Orthopedics specializes in arthritis, hip, knee, and shoulder replacements, hip fractures, osteoarthritis of the hip, and joint pain. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text the Game at 615-737-1025.
Vanderbilt fans, your flagship home for the broadcast of football and men's basketball is 93.3 Classic Hits. For the weekly Commodore Hour show featuring head coach Clark Lee, tune in to 94.9 The Fan on Monday nights at 6 p.m.
Golfers, tee it up this year at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the hottest new arrivals from Callaway. Featuring the new Rogue ST drivers, Callaway's most stable driver ever, with tungsten speed cartridge, jailbreak speed frame, and AI flash face. Engineered for max speed and forgiveness. 4 different models to fit every golfer's needs. Think speed? Go Rogue. Swing by Edwin Watts Golf Shops and get custom fit for the new Rogue ST drivers today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, and shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game set.
Checkered flag in the air. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Now let's see if we can bring them to life, all right?
Bringing you entertainment and informative sports talk during your workday.
Smart, funny, classy, and I like him a lot.
This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase with Chase McCabe, Willy Donick,
Mason, touchdown, Tennessee,
and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
This is a new level of geek you got going on here.
102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase. It's that time. Every Monday at 11, we chat with Teron Davenport, Titans NFL Nation reporter for ESPN, also the host of Talking with TD, the podcast that drops every Wednesday. Teron is presented by Crane Works and Rental Works, your source for crane and equipment rental. Visit craneworks.com. TD is not on yet. We're working on getting him, but we will chat with him in just a second. About the Titans and the 53-man roster. Again, if you're just tuning in, Brett Kern is going to be released, according to multiple sources, including Adam Schefter. Of course, he has been the punter for the Tennessee Titans since 2009. It would appear that Ryan Stonehouse has won the job as the new punter for the Tennessee Titans. So the end of an era, and we'll see what is next for Brett Kern.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if indeed he wants to continue his playing days, I'm pretty sure there will be a suitor out there for him. Again, he would be entering his 15th year, I believe. And now I think it's more so about him not necessarily just punting, but punting for a purpose, meaning being on a team that has an opportunity, a legitimate opportunity to not only make the playoffs, but get into the Super Bowl. So, that leaves the obvious, the Buffalo Bills, because of that whole debacle they've had. And now they're without a punter. So that could be a great landing spot for them.
Let's say hello to Teron Davenport. TD, what did you make of the Brett Kern news?
Yeah, it was to be expected. I mean, especially after seeing the way Stonehouse punted the ball on Saturday. He not only boomed it, but he was able to have a corner kick. He placed one inside the 10-yard line also, and I think those are the things that they needed to see from him. And it's just one of those things where you get younger and less expensive, and it's a move that you make for the next 5 years or so as opposed to this one season.
Yeah, for sure. All right, do you have any inkling of any other surprises that could happen with this 53-man roster, or do you feel like that we've been able to kind of watch it as it goes and it's pretty self-explanatory?
Yeah, I think it is pretty self-explanatory. The real mystery, though, is going to be 3 tight ends or 4 tight ends. I think that's one. Dave, from what I understand, Malik Willis will probably have that backup job, but it's just Tommy Hudson. Does he make it or does he not? And one of the things you have to look at is Torrey Carter and his ability to play some tight end as well. If you go back to the second preseason game, he had 3 reps as a tight end, like lined up, actually not in line, but just next to the tight end, not flex, but down in the stance in some 13 personnel looks. So that's going to be one to watch. I think David Aneni is another one. He's someone who I think has made a strong case for making the roster. And then you look at Joe Jones, who has also made a strong case. So do they keep 5 inside backers? Do they keep 6 or 5 outside backers? How is that going to work?
Burks, Woods, Westbrook-Akine, Phillips, McMath, and Hollister is what I'm going with. You agree or disagree?
Yeah, I mean, I wait, give me that list again.
Burks, Woods, Westbrook-Akine, Phillips. To me, those are easy. McMath is the 5th, and then I have Hollister just barely over Fitzpatrick.
I think Fitzpatrick makes it over Hollister.
Okay.
He does. Hollister plays some special teams, and he's managed to stay around. But, you know, ideally Reggie Robertson would be the guy that they keep. And I tell you, if you go back to his 2019 film, it's pretty good. So I just wonder if they, you know, try to sneak him on the roster over Fitzpatrick, who could probably, and Hollister, who could probably pass through waivers.
We'll talk with Teron Davenport. You can follow him on Twitter at @TDavenport_NFL. Now, Teron, we have been discussing also the offensive line situation. It seems like we pretty much know who the 5 starters will be. But behind that, they put Radins at guard. It still seems to me that he doesn't know what's going on. But it seems like because of default, he will make the roster. But I don't think this will be this roster at that position is not etched in ink. I think it's in pencil, and I think it will possibly change before the first game of the season.
Yeah, I think it could change. And you have in Buffalo, right, David Quesenberry and Spencer Long. Those guys battling out at right tackle. Could Bobby Hart come available again, and would they bring him back? Or, you know, would they trade, bringing a veteran like Riley Reif? Or even if he is released, bring him in from Chicago. Those are options. I mean, Reif started 12 games last year for the Bengals, so that's something. It's just with Radins, and it's funny because we got to see him that one practice. Next thing you know, he's working with the interior offensive lineman, and he didn't during individual period and didn't take a single rep at right tackle during that practice. And it was the first one after I think it was week 2 of the preseason. And it was just like, all right, it seems like the decision is made. And for me, seeing him inside, I'm just not sure. I never felt that he was suited to play guard in the first place because the biggest issue with him has been strength. And when you're going against those guys on the interior, that's one of the main things they bring is strength. And what do you see happening with him a lot? You know, those guys getting the first strike on him and driving him back. So I don't know about the guard situation. I guess we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Now, also, TD, the linebacker position. Now, Chance and Gibbons, I think Gibbons was an undrafted free agent this year, and he's shown enough that I think he should make the team as well as Chance. How do you think that the linebacker position plays out?
Yeah, I think both of those guys make the team, and I think Joe Jones makes it too. Now, after week 4, we'll see what happens when Monty Rice comes back. But I think for now, those guys are on the squad. And I tell you what, I really like Chance Campbell as a player. I will say that. You know, he tested well at the Combine, had 103 tackles, you know, at Ole Miss. And he's just one of those guys that finds the football. But the one thing, if you look at this group, if something should happen where they don't have Cunningham or Long available, they can't go base and expect to cover tight ends because it's not going to work. Because I wouldn't really put Campbell or Gibbons or even Joe Jones in that type of matchup.
We're talking to Teron Davenport. Teron, I think it's very clear to all of us that have been watching, Malik Willis has a great makeup. He's got a great mental approach. The word coachable gets thrown out a lot with a lot of people, but I think it really does fit with him. He knows what he needs to do to get to the next level. My question to you is, regardless of what they decide to do with the backup status here from day one, I'm looking big picture here. What do you think their plan is now that they don't have a place to put him? It's like it'd be nice to, slide him to AAA or the G League, right, where he gets to play and do those things. Right now, he's got nowhere to play unless they've got an emergency and Tannehill can't go. So what's their plan to keep developing him behind the scenes?
Well, that's exactly what I asked Coach Vrabel, and he kind of shook it off. See if I can find his exact quote. But really, I mean, as you know, once the preseason comes to an end, it's all game planning. You don't have as much time to coach everybody on the roster. But with him being the backup, obviously he could be someone who could continue to build his confidence and get those reps by making plays for the scout team. And just looking at the Vrabel's quote, it said, I would imagine he'd have a large role in whatever show team that we are doing. There you go, right there. We'll continue to have a lot of drills for him. There are a lot of guys for him to throw the football to. Everybody that is here is still going to practice. So, in essence, they're going to continue to work to develop him. I would not think that it will be as in much detail as it was during training camp, but still being there in the building, on the field, during games even, and seeing those options as far as, like, the speed of the game. But then also, don't be surprised if they have a package. I mean, you saw what he did, that 50-yard run. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a package for him. And that's something that the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson, right, during his rookie year. The 49ers did it with Colin Kaepernick as well, his rookie year. So you could definitely see it going that way.
Yeah, that'll be something to look for. And, a package if he had to come to a game or if they wanted to even throw a change of pace in there, and also building what the game plan would be if he were starting for a week or two, right? What are they comfortable with? All of that, so they could be working on that behind the scenes. That's something to look for. But I think it just illustrates a flaw in the developmental system in the NFL, particularly when it comes to the fine art of being a quarterback. Because I think in a perfect world, I mean, this happens all the time in hockey, in basketball, baseball, where if a guy's not going to be playing every day, so to speak, you want him playing every day somewhere else in the minors. You just don't have that in football. And so I wonder how many quarterbacks never got there because of the lack of a place to develop.
Yeah, and that's why these leagues, USFL, arena football even, that's why all those leagues are really important, because that gives opportunities for guys. XFL, those are important. Look, imagine if there wasn't a World League back in the day. You wouldn't have a Kurt Warner, So imagine if there wasn't a CFL back in the day. You wouldn't have a Warren Moon. So there are leagues that really have importance, and I think that's where the development comes. I mean, there's quarterbacks out there. You just got to, they need a chance.
All right, TD, great stuff. It's going to be interesting to monitor what this roster is going to look like, and I think we all agree that whatever the 53-man is tomorrow, it's probably going to still look different when they kick off on September 11th against the Giants. Thanks as always. We'll do it again next week.
You got it. Appreciate you.
He's Teron Davenport, presented by Craneworks and RentalWorks, your source for crane and equipment rental. Visit craneworks.com for more information. And TD, the Talking with TD podcast, every Wednesday that drops. We'll have more on this and what the roster looks like coming up next. But first, Willie, you're going to tell us about Lone Pronto.
I will. And I really would like to get back to that huge big picture question. How do you keep developing Malik Willis?
I agree.
While at the same time, if he's going to be your backup, which we all kind of are thinking he probably is going to be the backup, how do you have him ready for today but also not stunt the growth for the long term? I think it's a huge question for the franchise.
We'll discuss that coming up next.
All right. Lone Pronto, they're helping so many people who are home buyers, homeowners now with great mortgage rates. They've got great APRs, 30-year fixes in the 4s, 15-year APRs that start with a 3. So with a lot of high home values right now, if you're a homeowner, lots of people are refinancing. Lots of people getting cash out, using the cash to pay off high-interest credit cards, car loans, second mortgages. The money is in your house, and Lone Pronto can get it out for you and do it in a real quick amount of time. Lots of people are doing this right now. They'll get you the lowest rate no matter what your goal is. Not all lender mortgages are created equal, and Lone Pronto is known for being the low-rate leader. So it's an all-digital, super fast process. I'm actually going through it myself right now. So I like working with Lone Pronto. No paperwork, no hassle. So if you don't like your rate or if you want to make a move financially, call Lone Pronto and they can help you. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780. Or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
The Sports Talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic every Saturday morning at 9.
I've got my extra large coffee.
As she talks about the big stories of the week.
Predators news, the Tennessee Titans.
And looks ahead to the weekend.
Oh, I'm so excited.
On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Chevrolet Buick GMC. We all know that you're not supposed to wear white after Labor Day. So with that in mind, we're discounting all of our white vehicles. Well, maybe we should just discount the lighter colors that are close to white too, and maybe the red and blue ones since we celebrate this in America. Okay, fine. I'll discount all the cars, starting right now. On top of that, we want to celebrate all of your hard work with the most American lunch we can think of. Hot dogs. Hot dogs all day on Labor Day. So come kick your feet up, get a new car of any color, and enjoy a hot dog. You can even shop online for a new car with Newton FastPass. But you'll have to make your own hot dogs that way. Sorry. Visit NewtonChevroletBuickGMC.com to learn more.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Crane Works, Rental Works, yeah! The big dog's got it.
Crane Works is ready to help lift Nashville. As the Southeast's most trusted name in crane and equipment rental for over 30 years, Crane Works offers certified operators to make sure the job is done right. Rental Works has a diverse fleet of equipment to assist in any project, big or small. From forklifts to carry deck cranes, they have it all. When it's time for your next lift, machinery moving, or rigging project, call Crane Works. Visit craneworks.com.
Listen to Stillman & Company with me, Caroline Fenton, all season long on ESPN 102.5 The Game for your chance to win Nashville Sounds tickets courtesy of 312 Pizza Company in Germantown.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Back here, Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. You can weigh in on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We're live at the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Chase McCabe, Willie Donick, Derek Mason with you. Appreciate Teron Davenport for joining us, talking Titans. We'll talk to Ryan McGee of ESPN coming up at noon, get his thoughts on the college football season. But one thing that Teron brought up was the balance of developing Malik Willis to be the next guy. And if he's the backup for this team, what kind of position does that put him in as you continue to develop him? Derek, you noted the difference that you had seen between preseason game 1, 2, and 3, how he had taken the coaching, how he had applied that, but that's 3 weeks. So obviously there's still a lot of work to be done. But, before I thought, okay, you go 3 quarterbacks, Woodside's still the backup, and you don't have to worry about putting pressure on Malik Willis. Now it does feel like Malik Willis is going to be the backup quarterback for this team. Woodside could still be on the practice squad, and you figure that out. But what is that balance with Malik Willis and not stunting his growth?
I think what happens is, I know this is what happens when it comes to backup quarterbacks. Typically, you like to have a veteran guy in that position because he doesn't need a lot of developing. You don't have to worry about that aspect. For years, we had Dave Craig when we first got here. Then subsequently, Neil O'Donnell comes in. So Dave and Neil didn't need developing because, those guys have been in the league long enough. Neil had led his team to a Super Bowl, so he doesn't need, we got to develop this guy. So they didn't have to worry about that. Even so much so with, VY, and they had Kerry Collins as the backup for a minute. Well, Kerry had took his team to a Super Bowl, so they didn't need to develop him. But with like the Billy Voleks and the Kevin Daffs of the world, they get their development from scout team. Obviously, they're very attentive in the classroom, and they're getting bits and pieces of coaching once they get on the field during individual drills. But once we get into team 7-on-7 goal line, they don't get much work. So a lot of their work comes with scout team duties. And a lot of times we're running, scout team, we're running basically the same routes that we run that, the first teamers are running, but it's for the other team. And what you try to do as a quarterback, or what you do is you make that your game situation as much as possible. You go through your reads, even if the card says throw to this guy, because we used to run into this quite a lot in practice where that one guy would be circled, and Neil would say, man, listen, if he's not open and I'm not throwing it to him, because I'm not. What are we learning from that? Nobody's learning. If you're circling the X receiver is covered, or he falls down, am I still supposed to throw it? I'm going to go through my progressions. And you're talking about a veteran guy. And Neil O'Donnell saying this. And that's what those rookie guys are doing too. Yes, this is how I'm going to get better as a quarterback. That pass may not be there, so I got to go through my progression. That's how I learn. And that's the only way these young quarterbacks, Malik Willis, this is the only way he's going to get. I thought you were going to say Kevin Daft. Yeah, Malik Willis, this is the only way he's really going to continue to get that physical learning by being a scout team quarterback and going through your progressions. Now, sometimes you got to throw the ball where they say throw it. That's just, but then other times you go through your progressions as you would during a game. Make this your game. And typically these guys, when they do that, they tend to develop in a way that when they get in the game, it's not a surprise to them.
It's interesting you mentioned the two names, and some of our newer people to town are probably saying, Kevin Daft.
Yeah, like,
who the heck is Kevin Daft? Well, you mentioned two guys who were total no-names.
Nick puts in with the Duke of Earl.
Yeah, right. Total no-names who were third-string quarterbacks. Kevin Daft, who never made it. Billy Volek, who did make it, and ended up being a guy that earned a paycheck in the league for double-digit years because he was able to do the developing behind the scenes. It's just very tough for a quarterback, in particular in football, as opposed to a pitcher in baseball, a goalie in hockey, where you have play. Even now in the NBA, you have the ability to develop players away from your team. You just don't have that. And so who can do it? Like the progressions. Like I love the fact that they got him every rep that they could in the preseason games. And so he's gained a lot from that. How do you keep making those gains behind the scenes when it's going to be a lot of simulated stuff. He can do a lot of the drills to keep working on the footwork, coming in behind center, all of those things. He can do the work in the classroom. All of that will be there. But to me, it's really hard when you don't have those game reps where you can fail a little bit. That's the beauty of the minor leagues. A guy can fail a lot, and it doesn't really matter because you're like, hey, look, we need you to fail a few times before you get the hang of it. And you just don't have that luxury. And if he's your backup, you can't put him in a game and say, hey, Malik, just do the best you can, man. Just go for it. And you're going to make some mistakes, but because if he's got to play for a couple of games and he's the backup quarterback, he's going to be expected to win. And you got to come up with a game plan for him to win. You got to play to his strengths. But in the big picture, can you keep making those gains that we're seeing? Because he wants to make those gains as a passer, as a reader of defenses, as a guy that can go under center, all of those things.
Do you play with the idea, even if he's the backup, of, and we've talked about this before, some design packages where you do put him in and you can use his legs, use his strength. We know Ryan Tannehill can be mobile, but I don't think he's that mobile. I mean, you saw that scamper that he had for 50-something yards the other night. I mean, you put him in a position to do that. Now, I think if I'm an opposing defense, it's going to be a little predictable that you know why you're putting him in there. But, even if you put Tannehill out wide as a decoy because he played receiver, not actually throw it to him, you could do some things like that. Is that something that you think they play with, or are they going to protect him, especially early on, and just let him sit back and watch?
I'm sure they have packages, potentially for Malik. Malik and Ryan, they do sort of the same things. Now, Malik may be a little bit faster, but I think Ryan is a little bit more mobile from this standpoint. He's been in the NFL long enough. He knows what he can do. He knows what he can't do. He knows when to get down, when to go for that extra yard. Malik Willis is just now figuring that. He's still figuring that out. So the packages they can put in for Ryan as well. But what you said, Chase, was, have Ryan in the game, put him out at wide receiver, put Malik in the backfield as your quarterback. There are certain packages you can run for him and get positive plays via passing the ball or running the ball. But the person that has the most important job in all of this is Pat O'Hara. He has the most important job in all of this because Downing is not going. He's running the offense. He's right. So he doesn't have time to go back and critique and teach, Malik Willis, and that's really not his job. Pat O'Hara is the one because he doesn't have to spend all that time on Ryan Tannehill because Ryan knows it. You might have to correct him with a few things, but Ryan knows this offense in and out. His attention should be on Malik Willis and developing him behind the scenes. So I think his job is more important than anyone else's. If your thought is Malik we want him to be our quarterback in 2 years. Well, Pat O'Hara has to earn that paycheck. Not to say he hasn't been, but he's really going to have to earn it now because Malik can't get the reps. He might get out of the whole week, he may get 10 reps, if that, with the first team offense or the second team. But beside that, it's Pat O'Hara's job to make sure this guy is ready if indeed they do need him.
And my question would be, and I don't know that you can't do it, but if you're going to have some specialty things where he comes in and goes in motion or just, you sneak him on the field, you hope that doesn't come at the expense of the big picture, right? The developing all of the things you want. Because I think we could probably say there's been examples. I thought, RG3 was one, and the injury was a big thing.
Yeah.
But they sort of revamped the whole offense and simplified it, and it worked really well. And then he got hurt, and then he just never – I just wonder what would it have been. Maybe it wouldn't have changed at all, but if they had taken a little slower approach with RG3.
I like what Sean not McVay, but Sean Payton did in New Orleans with their whole backup situation. They found a package for the backup quarterback, and they slowly started implementing those packages into the game, and it worked. Now, he wasn't. It showed that he wasn't a starting quarterback.
Yeah, in fact, I don't know that he is going in that direction. It looks like it's going back to just being the slash kind of guy.
But that earned him a lot of money.
It sure did.
A big check, so.
Hey, you'll take that for sure. Coming up next, we'll switch gears a little bit. There's some pretty significant news out of Vanderbilt that I think is interesting that we will discuss. Coming up next is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hey folks, Joe Rexford here, inviting you to be ready for game day when college football kicks off this week. Right now, new customers get $150 in free bets guaranteed for week one. Just place a $5 bet, you can get $150 in free bets, win or lose. You can go same game parlay, live betting, all kinds of odds boosts. You can go national championship futures. I know this week the big game, Tennessee, Ball State. I would go ahead and give those points and go with the Vols. I think they're going to roll and put up a lot of points in that game. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, now's the perfect time to give it a shot. See for yourself why it's America's #1 sportsbook. Download the app, sign up today with promo code Joe102. Place a $5 bet to get $150 in free bets guaranteed to kick off the football season. Again, the FanDuel Sportsbook app, promo code Joe102. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbet.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Save big this Labor Day at Electronic Express. Get a Samsung 65-inch 4K TV for only $599 or an LG laundry pair for $599 each. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department: computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, mattresses, and more. Don't miss out on a Microsoft Surface Pro 8 bundle for just $899 or an Xbox Series S bundle for only $379. Shop in-store or online with up to 36 months free financing. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey, homeowners and home buyers, listen up. Loan Pronto has 30-year fixed rates with APRs in the 4s and 15-year loans with APRs that start with 3. Hey, it's Willy Donick. Don't be confused by the media's hype about interest rates. At Loan Pronto, their rates have plummeted recently, and they're currently refinancing homeowners who locked in a 5 or 6% rate. So if you've got a rate over 5%, or if your lender has you pre-approved or locked in at anything 5% or higher, you need to call Loan Pronto now. Not all lender rates are created equal. Loan Pronto's rates are down big time, and you need to take advantage. Whether you're buying, refinancing, getting cash out, or even if you just closed a few weeks ago. Call Loan Pronto today, and you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Loan Pronto can help keep more money in your pocket. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN. Welcome into Chase, Willy, and D-Mase.
Somebody Company is delivered. There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming. Get the extra point, no problem. And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, This is Pete Weber. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Willie Donick, Derek Mason with you. Vanderbilt making a pretty big announcement, or, well, they haven't announced it yet. This is Pete Thamel is reporting this, that Vanderbilt has sold the naming rights to their stadium to First Bank. For the next 10 years, it'll be the first time in more than a century of Vanderbilt football that the school has sold the stadium naming rights. The stadium will be called First Bank Stadium. Thamel goes on to say it marks a significant financial influx for Vanderbilt, part of athletic director Candace Story-Lee's attempts to modernize the football program. Vanderbilt breaks ground on more than $300 million in facility upgrades later this fall. And I know that people they announced the $300 million in upgrades like 2 years ago. Shovels haven't been in the ground. People have been asking, when is that going to happen? You know, what is this? And now it's finally getting to that point. And also this what's soon to be an announcement that they've sold the stadium naming rights. I think that's big. I think this is a really, really good step for Vanderbilt moving forward to show that they care about athletics, most notably football.
It's interesting. I believe since they did the commitment, since they came forward with the, what's it called? The Vanda United is what they call it. I have seen a lot of tangible upgrades in what they're doing. It hasn't come to the stadium yet. I think it's been more from the football end. What are they doing with the facilities that you hang out in every day, right? The locker rooms and the practice facilities and things like that. There's been a long debate, and I've been very curious in terms of the stadium, is when the soccer team started playing at Nashville SC, would there be a renewed interest in saying, should we try to play a couple games down there? It doesn't sound like that is going to happen. So I think we're all curious what the stadium will look like when you just pour some money into it, because there's a lot of limitations to what you could do with Vanderbilt Stadium. It's not a state-of-the-art facility, and even if you pour a lot of money in it, how much better is it going to get? I think that's been the debate for probably the better part of a decade on what to do in the future. But as far as the naming rights, I think there was a day and time in college football where it was like frowned upon, that, you know, you don't want to make it too commercial.
Dare you?
How dare you rename a classic stadium and throw naming rights on it? It was kind of like you would thumb your nose at that kind of thing. But once upon a time, nobody would ever dare sell beer at the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
The revenue streams, especially now when you're trying to, as a major college program, you got to stay with the times. You're now got to be prepared to find ways to get NIL money for premier players. Let's be honest, you got to get in that game. If this helps you get into that game and help you raise money and creates another revenue stream, then why not? You've got to do it. Now, would it be weird? Like, it's one thing for Vanderbilt Stadium, right? There's not as much tradition there. What about naming rights for Memorial Gym? Could you do that? I mean,
I think you should. I mean,
you might as well.
And I think this is where. So I'm going to give Vanderbilt credit.
Or Hawkins Field. Like these are all things that these are named. There's a lot of tradition.
To me,
in the
the
name.
Hawk is a no-brainer, because even though baseball, doesn't have the revenue, doesn't bring in the revenue like a football would, or even men's basketball at times, that's your most successful program. So to me, if I'm a business, I want to be a part of that, because I know I'm going to be. I know I'm jumping in with a winner right now.
But it hasn't been. I get the feeling that a lot of these places, it hasn't been for sale to a point. But now it's kind of like, well, we got to go there.
Well, and real quick, Derek, this is where I'm giving praise while throwing in some criticism at the same time. You guys know I grew up here. I grew up going to Vanderbilt games before anything else. I spent my Saturdays at Vanderbilt Stadium, now First Bank Stadium, and a lot of time at Greer Stadium, because that's the only thing we had going on. And then the Predators got here, the Titans got here, and a lot of that changed. But I am a Vanderbilt fan through and through, and so I want to see them be successful. They've gotten in their own way at times. Now that Candace Story-Lee is at the helm, I do feel like she's trying to change a lot of the narrative and maybe the misnomers about Vanderbilt. My dad used to always make the joke that they get the check from the SEC and they build a science building. I mean, you know, but that stuff has been
fair or
there.
unfair, that has been the reputation.
Right. And I feel like now they're trying to change that, but they got to pick up the pace. Like they got to keep this going. I think what you just said, it absolutely should happen. Memorial Gym should get naming rights. Hawkins Field, you know, make more money on those brands and then use it to improve the facilities, which is going to be the plan. But they had this $300 million, investment that they're making, which is great. But to me, that should just be the beginning.
Yeah, it can't stop there. It's got to keep going there. And I think there's good signs. I think Clark Lee is driving that too. Clark Lee got assurances that he was going to long-term get the support he needs to build what he wants to build. It's going to take time. They're taking a long-range approach. They're not taking all kinds of transfers and things like that. They're building, and I think he wants to see the facilities and the revenue streams get built along with it.
Well, they can't, get those transfers and all of that because of the facilities, I think. I think there are transfers out there that meets the requirements. We've always said this. Stanford, Duke, these other, Purdue, these sort of Ivy League, if not Ivy League schools, they have the same standards that Vandy has, but they manage to still incorporate sports into it. It's not just, okay, we care about this, but we don't care about this. If you care about your university, you care about everything that encompasses your university, not just, we're so Vandy, we're only going to care about the educational part. That's great. You're supposed to. But you have a group of students, men and women, that come there to participate in sports too. So
and they want to be the best.
Exactly. So the energy that you put toward your academics, you need to put toward your athletics, because other schools that have the same requirements as you, they do it too. They're able to walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. Vandy is sort of getting to that now, where, okay, now we need to start doing some things on the athletic realm, not just sit back and collect a check, because that's what Vandy has been doing. Just sit back and collecting the check.
It's a great point, and I think it all starts at the top. I am very encouraged, continue to be, since the new chancellor came in. Chancellor D-Mase has that as his.
Yep.
If you want
it's a very good point.
A mission statement, he says we want to do everything first class.
You want to excel in both.
Athletics. That used to not be. That has not been the thing. Chancellor Gee did it for a while. I think he really was in on that. But I think Chancellor D-Mase is definitely pushing that. He puts his money where his mouth is. He comes to the games. He's engaged in the athletic program. It doesn't happen overnight, but I do think that they are making some positive changes there. And I think Clark Lee is going to be key to watch how he rolls with it, how he feels about the whole thing as he builds it.
And real quick on this, I take nothing away from the things that the late David Williams did as athletic director. Whether he had the title of athletic director or whether he did a lot, but he had his hands tied in a lot of ways too.
Yeah, once Chancellor Gee left, I do think he was battling that.
Yeah,
more so than he wanted to be. And
I think it got to the point where he was just like, I don't know what else I can do. I remember Derek Mason coming on, not you, but the other one, coming on and saying, like, we need a new stadium. I mean, he flat out said it. There were just certain things that I think David Williams tried to do, but he knew that he just wasn't going to be able to accomplish. Now that you have two people in Candace Lee and then Clark Lee that they've lived it. They played there as athletes.
I think that's a factor.
That's huge. That is bigger than I think a lot of people really give it credit for, that they know what it's like on the other side, and so they're trying to make that a better experience for the student athlete. And then you have Tim Corbin, who I saw on Saturday, and he says hello, by the way, that I think, he's been there since 2002. He knows what it was and now what it is. And so you have that, and then Jerry Stackhouse with name power should be able to help and fundraise even more too.
Here's the thing. You You tell these student athletes, I call them athletic students, but you tell them it takes nothing away from their them being a student.
They're the players.
But you tell them, you tell these men and women that you need to be excellent in the classroom. These are the things you need to do. This is the Vanderbilt way. These are the things you need to do as a student. But you're not helping them and showing them that they need to be excellent on the field, that you're willing to transfer that excellence to the athletic realm. But you're asking them to do it all in the classroom, but you're not reciprocating that on the basketball court, the baseball field, the football field, lacrosse. I'm just saying their facilities and everything. I'm not saying players. I'm just saying facilities. You're asking them to be excellent in classroom, but you're not giving them excellence on the athletic playing field.
I agree, and you got to do that. Coming up next, it was a big weekend for Vanderbilt football. We'll discuss that coming up. But first, my time to tell you about Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey and why I love it so much. Now, when I ask for it, I want it as a chilled shot because that's my preference. But you can have it on the rocks. You can have it neat. You can have it as a espresso martini or a peanut butter old-fashioned. It doesn't matter. Just go to screwballwhiskey.com for more recipe ideas when you are for when you drink it when you're out and about with your friends. But the reason I like it is an original, just like me, just like the suit. It's made with real peanuts, real peanut butter, and real whiskey, and it's the most awarded peanut butter whiskey in the world. Natural flavors. So it should make it an easy decision for you when you're out and about with your friends. Ask for it by name. Say, I want a Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey, and do like I do. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2022 Screwball Spirits, LLC, San Diego, California. Whiskey with natural flavors, 35% alcohol by volume.
Every Wednesday at 2:45.
Sanders for the touchdown, 48 yards.
Former NFL wide receiver Chris Sanders joins Stillman and Company to give his thoughts on all things Titans and NFL. Fueled by Parman Energy, now hiring fuel drivers. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus. High temperatures today in the low 90s. Adding in the humidity feels closer to 100 this afternoon, and the chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms move in this afternoon through this evening and continue through tomorrow morning.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face truck today.
Cromwell Media, who owns this radio station, is observing a significant milestone this month. Our founder, Bud Walters, is celebrating his 50th year as president. Joining Bud with anniversaries of their own are Max Hurst and Scott Meyer with 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and Ryan Burke in our sales department is also celebrating 1 year with us. From 1 year to 50 years, Cromwell Media is a great place to work, and you're invited to join us. Send an email to together@cromwellmedia.com and tell us about yourself. That's together@cromwellmedia.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Jared Stillman.
This is a team that the entire city is losing their minds over.
Caroline Fenton.
It's one of the youngest teams in the league. They don't have a single player over the age of 30.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook every day. Our video streaming brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You can also weigh in on our phone lines run by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll talk to Ryan McGee here in just a few minutes at noon about all things college football. But it was a big weekend, and Vanderbilt has made this official. They have announced First Bank Stadium, the football stadium name now, so they've put that out on Twitter. But Vanderbilt opened up their season in week 0 in Hawaii and just beat the you-know-what out of Hawaii, 63-10. A little bit of a slow start. It was 14-7 at the end of the first quarter, and I mean even in at the half it was, I think, 21-10, but then 35 scored in the third quarter to make it 63-10. Of a very nice showing all around and a good win for Clark Lee and company.
A lot of ways to look at this, and what's interesting is I'll bet you if you're not a big Vanderbilt fan, I wonder how much of the game people actually watched to try to figure out what it all means. Let's put it in perspective first. Last year, the team opened up in Clark Lee's first game, played East Tennessee State, and got whipped.
Mm-hmm.
They got whipped by East Tennessee State. It wasn't very close. They were never really in it. I was at the game. It was extremely frustrating and disappointing. And as I've said before as a theme, to keep in mind all year long, regardless of where it goes from here, I have seen a lot of first-year coaches for Vanderbilt football come in and inherit a very tough situation. I've never seen anybody with less to work with than Clark Lee had last year. He had nothing. So just the fact that they're beating a Division I team 63-10 means something. Now, Hawaii is an interesting deal, right? They were home. They had 51 new players. So I don't think Hawaii is really good. We know that. I mean, they may be really bad when it's all said and done. But Vanderbilt was not capable of beating any Division I team last year 63-10. So I think that they've made a lot of strides. And I think one of the things that you noted, Chase, Hawaii took the opening kickoff, went down and scored. It was 7-0, and there was some adversity for Vanderbilt in the first quarter and a half. But they didn't fold. They looked like a much more confident team. They kept coming at you. They kind of screwed up the drive at the end of the first half where you had a little bit of maybe they should be up by more. And then they went to a whole new gear in the third quarter and scored 35. It was amazing how easy they started to be able to dominate the game. So where does it go from here? Well, they play Elon on Saturday. I feel pretty good about that, although you never know how they're going to come off of it. And what does it mean for the SEC games? Are they going to be able to compete and maybe win a conference game or two or be more competitive week to week? That's the next step to me. And so, so far so good. I think they're clearly better, way better than they were a year ago. And you hope that this fortifies the roster to where by the end of the year, people are sticking around and saying, I want to stay a part of this, and I want to keep going.
Well, Vandy, they did what they were supposed to do. They went and beat a team that, honestly, they were better than. Even though Vandy has their woes, they were better, from top to bottom than Hawaii was. And it showed after, the first few series. And then the running game with Davis and Griffin and the other guy, it started really going.
They had multiple running backs run the ball well.
And then Wright, he did an excellent job at running the football. He did an okay job at passing the football. You can see with his mechanics that he still has things to work on. But for this particular game, the defense played well. They got several turnovers for touchdowns. They were in the quarterback's face. They were swarming the way you want your defense to do. And we talked about Vandy last week. These first 4 games for them has an opportunity to set them up, to give them some momentum going into SEC play. Now,
not just momentum, Derek, confidence.
But when your first SEC game is at Alabama,
Yeah, and they got Georgia early.
Yeah, you're going to need a whole lot of confidence. Matter of fact, they're going to need confidence on top of confidence on top of confidence going into that game. But, when you start off whipping somebody up 63 to, 10 or what was it, 10? 63-10?
63-10.
Yeah.
And it was
that's a big confidence booster.
Like you said, Chase, they scored 35 in the third quarter. They shut it down in the fourth quarter. It was that lopsided. I saw Hawaii has to be pretty depressed because the line was only, 8? It's not like Vanderbilt came in as a 21-point favorite and won 63-10. They came in as a 7 or 8-point favorite and won 63-10. So that surprised the odds makers. The odds makers didn't think Vanderbilt would improve that much. So that's a nice showing. What's funny is I had a lot of tweets. I saw a lot of tweets the next morning of, I went to bed and Vanderbilt was only up 14-7 or Vanderbilt was down 7-0. Woke up and they won 63-10. I can tell you as a Vanderbilt person, I stayed up late. I was watching the fourth quarter. I was like, I got to celebrate this, man. Come on, man. Let's go.
I might not see this again. Well, at least not 63 points.
I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't.
They got I wanted to see, for example, the quarterback we talked about last week. I forget his name. He's a pretty highly touted quarterback that has moved into the second position. He passed up Ken Seals, who had started most of the games the last 2 years. But these are good signs. And Mike Wright is a huge key. He broke an 87-yard run. He can really run. It's a little bit like Malik Willis, right? You know that when he breaks into the open field, he makes people miss. He's an elite runner. The question is, how far can Mike Wright continue to push and develop as a passer? He hit the basic throws. I think we're going to have to look and see if he can continue to progress. But I think kind of like Malik Willis, he's got a great attitude. The players love him. Joe Rexrode wrote a great story about Wright's background. He wants to learn. He wants to be really good. He's the unquestioned leader of the team. We'll see how far that takes him when they get into the tougher part of the schedule.
Yeah, and here's something that I think is significant. Vanderbilt hasn't started off 2-0 since 2018. They beat MTSU and then Nevada, and then went and played at Notre Dame and then lost to Notre Dame in South Carolina.
And
before
Notre
beating
Dame,
TSU.
they were right there at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
This was Keyshawn Vaughn and Kyle Shermer, and that team had some ups and downs, but they did end up
bowl
going
eligible
to a bowl
that year.
game.
Yeah, they went 6-7 that year, and I believe that was the last time that they went to a bowl game. So it's been since 2018 since they've started the season 2-0. I think that would be significant, and I'm not giving Elon to them. They got to go play the game. They got to do the right things. They can't get complacent. But if they were to start the season 2-0, going into Wake Forest coming to town at Vanderbilt, I think from just strictly a confidence standpoint, that's huge for Clark Lee to work with because, as you mentioned, when he inherited the team, he didn't have a lot, and so you've had to really build from scratch. So I think winning this weekend would be huge for them to be 2-0. And look, I mean, I think Wake is good, is probably on paper better than them, but if they can compete with Wake Forest and they're at home and come away with the win, then I mean that's even better.
Well, if they can't, say if they can't pull out a victory versus Elon, it shows me that they have not taken that step forward as a program, as a football program, because you don't beat Hawaii that you are much better than and then come back and lose to a team that you should be better than as well from top to bottom. I don't see that happening. But again, in sports, anything can happen. So if they can pull off these, this next game, going into the Wake Forest game 2-0, and it gives them confidence that, okay, we may have something here. We may have a really good team. I know it's a long season, but, depending on how they play this next game, you can either say, hey, this Vandy team is promising, and promising for them may just be a bowl game, 6 wins.
No, that would be huge.
Yeah.
Nobody has – their over-under at Vegas is 2.5 wins.
Yeah.
2.5. Nobody has them winning a conference game. So I think 4 or 5 wins would be a notch
huge.
in Clark Lee's belt. I mean,
You're giving-
6 would be
I give him
amazing.
an extension if he does that.
Yeah.
No doubt. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Ryan McGee from ESPN. We'll keep the college football theme going. Tennessee will open their season Thursday against Ball State. We'll talk to Ryan next. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You watch The Game.
And he's going. Nobody's going to catch him. Derrick Henry, touchdown.
We talk The Game.
I don't think it was a bad play, but he took out their goalie.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Nothing makes one feel better than the ability to give to someone in need. You have the power to give the most important gift of all, the gift of life, with a donation of your blood. Supplies are desperately low in our area, and your help is needed. Blood Assurance is a nonprofit community blood center that supplies our Middle Tennessee area hospitals. Please find it in your heart to donate. Be someone's hero today. Go to bloodassurance.org to find a location or blood drive near you. That's bloodassurance.org. Give blood, give local, save lives with Blood Assurance. Are you a local up-and-coming music act looking for your big break? We might just have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you. Blended Festival and Affinity Entertainment are hosting a chance for a music act like you to join the lineup for Nashville's Blended Festival, September 10th and 11th. The deadline, August 29th. The finalist announced September 1st. To submit, text I Want to Win to 615-965-8657 or check out at Affinity Nash on Instagram.
Hey Nashville, it's Jared, and there's a new go-to for home furnishing.
The summer clearance sale at Social Furniture, where all furniture is reduced in every department. Designer sofas from $5.99 and leather sofas from $7.99. Queen bedroom sets with queen bed, dresser, and mirror from $11.99. They come in solid, cherry, oak, and gray. Casual 5-piece dining room sets starting at $3.99, and formal dining sets starting at $5.99. Sealy, Stearns & Foster, Simmons, Serta, and Purple Mattress, all sizes on sale.
Social Furniture on the west side is independently home-owned furniture store in Nashville. Forget the big box store. Shop local, shop social. They have all the best brand mattresses, sofas, recliners, love seats, sectionals, coffee tables, and more with no waiting. They will deliver it the same day. That's with everything at Social Furniture. Enjoy new furniture now with no waiting. Shop local, shop social. 5412 Charlotte Avenue near White Bridge Road, and tell them Jared Stillman sent you.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game. Second flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Now let's see if we can bring them to life, all right?
Bringing you entertainment and informative sports talk during your workday.
Smart, funny, classy, and I like him a lot.
This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase with Chase McCabe, Willie Donick,
Mason, touchdown, Tennessee.
and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
This is a new level of geek you got going on here.
12 o'clock hour, Chase, Willy, and D-Mace, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Willie Donick, Derek Mason hanging out with you on a Monday. Nick Keyser behind the glass. As week 0 is in the books, now it gets real with week 1 of college football. We say hello to Ryan McGee of ESPN and the SEC Network. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm good. Is Vandy back? They were supposed to come back. Like I know they're physically back. I mean, like, are they like trying to go to class today? Because I feel like only at Vanderbilt would they even attempt that.
That's a good point. I don't know. Willie is our Vanderbilt correspondent.
So are they back in class, Willie, today?
They are physically back in the States, but mentally in class, they might be floating a little bit for the classroom. I'd feel pretty good about being in class walking around after 63-10.
They were in the state. They were in the States, even in Hawaii.
Yes, the
mainland.
The lower 48.
The lower 48.
Yeah,
okay.
The lower 48.
We had Coach on Marty McGee the Saturday before they left, and he went through their itinerary, And it all made a lot of sense except for the whole as soon as the game's over, we're flying home thing. I was like, well, I'll take a nap, but that's all right. That's and then he used to coach at UCLA. I said, you should call UCLA and tell them to just get used to this, because when they're making their conference trip to Piscataway in a couple of years, they'll need to know how to handle these flights.
Tennessee's going to open their schedule against Ball State on Thursday, and the big news over the weekend is Brew McCoy, the transfer wide receiver, is going to be eligible to play. Josh Heupel talked today saying that he's going to be very dominant for the Volunteers, but you add him with Cedric Tillman. How significant is that in that offense?
It's big. I mean, it's just another weapon. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, when you have the quarterback that you have, and if you manage to keep him upright more than he's on the ground, you just give him more weapons. Yeah, it can't be anything but good. So no, it's really big news. And yeah, I mean it's funny. And you guys know I went to UT, married a girl from Farragut. I mean, just saw my old roommates a couple weekends ago, and I think that landing in the first spot right out of the top 25 is perfect. Any higher than that, the already out of control expectations are probably too high. Any lower than that, I think you're justified to be feel dissed. But sitting right there with a chance to move in early is I think that's a good spot to be in. And the more weapons you give Mr. Hooker, I think the better off you are.
Now, Ryan, I could be drinking the Kool-Aid. There might be something in the Kool-Aid. I don't know, but it's orange, and I'm looking at this team, and I think they're a 9-win football team. Now, with all that said, they got to go into Pittsburgh, and they got to beat Pittsburgh. They got to beat Florida. They got to go to Baton Rouge, take care of LSU, which I don't think is going to be easy by any means. I would like to see them be competitive against Alabama and Georgia. They got to take care of Kentucky. There's a lot of what-ifs that can happen over the course of a long season. But I do have belief in Josh Heupel that he's getting that. You asked if Vanderbilt's back. Then I know you meant physically here, but – I think Josh Heupel has a great opportunity to show the SEC that Tennessee is back.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's I compare this team. I've done this a lot. I compare this team to Ole Miss 2 years ago. Ole Miss a couple years ago, they went I think they were right at 500, but they had a chance to win a lot of games, and at the very least, they were entertaining. And so on Monday, when you're talking about college football with your buddies, you were talking about Ole Miss as if they'd won the game, like in a positive way. That's what Tennessee was last year. That team overachieved, but it was also super entertaining. And they hovered around 500 a lot. But the reality was that, it was all positive talk with the exception of one goofy night with Ole Miss, and that had nothing to do with the team. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think that there's the family. You mentioned Kentucky, and I'm talking about all my in-laws and all that stuff. I drive them all crazy when I say this, but I think I've said it to you guys before. The goal for Tennessee right now, and it's for someone of my age, it's incredible to say these words out loud, but the goal for Tennessee right now is not to be Alabama or Georgia. You need to be Kentucky first. You need to get to the point where you expect to win at least 9 games, like going into the year. 9 games written in Sharpie, 9 wins, and then figure out how to get to 10 wins and figure out how to get back to New Year's Day on a regular basis. Once you establish that, once you've done what Stoops has done in Lexington, now you can prepare yourself to try to move up to that next echelon. And so it's they're getting there. The momentum feels real, and I completely jinxed everyone in Knoxville just by saying that out loud right now. I realize that, but the momentum feels. I'm with you. I think it doesn't feel thin. It feels legit.
Now, with that being said, obviously they have their returning their leading receiver back. Obviously Hooker's back, leading rusher's back. Hooker ended up being the second leading rusher for this team last season. So it's safe to say that the offense, we should see the offense take off a little bit faster than what the defense can possibly do. Is that a safe assessment?
Yeah, and my biggest concern when you're talking about, Josh Heupel, and when you're talking about that style of offense, my biggest concern is always when you get into the second half, man, your defense has been on the field a lot. And the good news is that means you've been moving up down the field and hopefully scoring points. But that's my biggest concern. And if you go back and look at, when UCF was rolling and Heupel was the guy behind that offense, their defense was gassed. And the knock on Heupel has always been that the defensive numbers are as huge as the offensive numbers. And that's bad, And so you want to stay out of track meets the best you can. So that's my concern, is just depth on defense, because you're going to have to figure out a way to rotate guys in and out of there. Otherwise, they'll all be grabbing knees in the third quarter, and that's not a good sign. So that's, to me, I never had any concern with Josh Heupel knowing how to move football. That's never been from the time he played. He's moved the football, but the concern is making sure you're giving the defense a chance, because the good news is you're scoring in a minute and a half. The bad news is defense got to get back out there for another 6.
Now, Ryan, with that being said, how close are they? Because everyone's looking at it from the standpoint of, listen, Georgia, this is Georgia's East to win. And many, some are picking Georgia to win the SEC in general. But how close is Tennessee to, because you just mentioned Kentucky, and it seems like those two teams are sort of battling for that second spot in the East. But how close are they to Kentucky?
They're close. I think the difference is depth. I think your first 22 is just as good. I'm a big fan of the kid that's going to be behind center at Kentucky, but I'm just as big a fan of the kid behind the center at Tennessee. So I think you give me the first 22, then it's pretty even. I think the difference is depth. And again, somebody who was born in the 70s, when I'm sitting here talking about, Kentucky depth and all this other stuff, I say, it's just like talking about Alabama being a wide receiver to you. My brain cannot process it. But the reality is they're close. They're getting there. But again, the goal is to get to pull up even with Kentucky first and compete for that second spot in the East, and then give yourself a chance a little bit further down the road to beat Georgia, and maybe in the meantime you sneak up on them one day.
Talking to Ryan McGee from ESPN, going around the horn with some SEC football. Let me rotate back to Vanderbilt for one question here. Ryan, outside of the football program, I don't know if you saw this yet, but they have announced a naming rights partnership with First Bank. They're actually having a press conference right now, and it appears, and we'll see how this ends up playing out, but I can see Clark Lee's wheels turning, where they're trying to get a partnership that goes beyond you give us the check, we put your name on the stadium. They're talking about internships and other ways that they can sort of get to a next level, a modern level of what a football player, what an athlete in the SEC is hoping for with NIL and all these other things.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what these sponsorships are now. And what Vanderbilt has kind of figured out that I think a lot of schools are struggling with is a lot of schools feel like they're losing sponsorship opportunities right now because that money is going into these collectives for NIL. And so, if you figure out a way to do both, and you figure out a way to get some, because it's no secret, Vandy can use some facilities upgrades when it comes to football. If you can find somebody that's going to put their name on the building and help you get some construction cranes going, but then also figure out a way to help your guys, land jobs, or help your guys, pick up a little endorsement money, great. And I'm a Clark Lee fan. I mean, you guys talk to him all the time. Marty and I were completely blown away. And we're 2 years in a row, our conversations with him. But what he talks about first and foremost, and unlike a lot of coaches, this is genuine, is what he said to us, he said, if you leave Vanderbilt as a football player or just as a student, and I have not done you the service of preparing you for something other than football, then, I failed you. And this is part of that to me. And that's why I believe that it's really genuine, which is you're talking about internships and you're talking about, you'd love to think all those guys are going to play in the NFL. They're not. So, probably got a lot of bankers on that team. And so this sounds like a great opportunity for them.
Yeah, we'll see where that goes. Ryan, you've got Oregon and Georgia, a featured game coming up this weekend on ABC. Oregon's number 11, Georgia's number 3, and Georgia is favored by 17. I guess that's not that surprising, but how good is Oregon?
They're really good. And, oh, by the way, that historic defense that we were all bragging about, last year, Dan Lanning, defensive coordinator, the guy that ran that defense, he's the head coach in Oregon now. And the Oregon linebackers are studs. Noah Sewell is a stud, and he's not the only one. So they are really good in the middle of the field. They're not going to give a whole lot up there. If you're Georgia, then what you plan on doing is just, beat them to death and wear them down into the fourth quarter, as we've seen teams, Ohio State, we've seen bigger, stronger teams do to Oregon over the years. But they're really good. I mean, they got skilled players all over the place, but particularly the extra layer to this game is the fact that Lanning is the coach. And there's nothing that Georgia defense is going to be able to throw at Oregon they're not going to see coming. Now, I'm not saying that Oregon's got the guy that can make the play every time, but I am saying that they're going to know exactly where that defense is going to be and when they're going to be there. So it has the potential to really be something else, but we will see. And honestly, the Pac-12 season, I'll say this about the Pac-12. You go back and look at their schedule in September over the last 10 years when we've all kind of run them down as a weak conference or whatever. It's not because they don't schedule. And we see Oregon do it. We see Utah's going to Florida. I mean, if they take care of business in the first few weeks of September, they'll be in the playoff conversation because conference will look that great. But I've also actually said that very sentence right there most of the last 10 years leading into the season, and they've usually tripped all over themselves by the time we hit week 3.
All right, final thing for you, Ryan. Utah, top 10 team, goes into the swamp to face Florida. Very intriguing game there.
Yeah, and it's the Pac-12 season. It really is. Everyone agrees that Utah is really good, and I'm a Kyle Whittingham guy. I always say if we had a head coach's bunkhouse stampede, right, like a battle royal wrestling. Okay. You give me Kyle Whittingham, and I'll give you the rest of the field. That dude is a stud. But the reality is they're really good, and if they were to go into Florida and beat Florida, even though we all know Florida's in transition, although I remind people all the time, number one, Billy Napier can coach. And number two, he's a Saban guy. Well, we know all that stuff. And number three, this roster that has lost some guys, this team almost beat Alabama early last season. Everyone forgets that. And, Dan Mullen kind of checked out on them, and it all turned into a soap opera by the time we got to the middle of the year. But it's not like Florida doesn't have guys. So if Utah were to go in there and win, it is no overstatement to say that Utah winning at Florida would set the Pac-12 up potentially all the way through December, because it would give them, something to stand on in that room with the committee members.
No, that's an important game, and then Florida comes back with Kentucky the following week. So very intriguing start for the Gators here. Ryan, as always, thanks for the perspective. Really exciting to have a week of games to look forward to, and, of course, it's always nice when Vanderbilt's 1-0 on the season.
Yeah. Week 1. And all you Vandy guys, I'm sure you walk around listening to us right now. Go take a nap.
Hey, Ryan, let's go race in the rain at Daytona. That seems like a good idea.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. It sounds like a great idea for everyone, especially if you're Austin Dillon.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Thanks, bud. Good to talk to you.
Thanks, boys.
Yep. Ryan McGee, ESPN. Always enjoy the conversations with him because they're always very entertaining. Is the best way to put it, for sure. Coming up next, we'll get back into Derek's view of the Titans' 53-man roster. That is all coming up here on Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840,
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
And he has added players that do fit.
What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
Hey folks, Joe Rexford here, inviting you to kick off week 1 of the NFL season. It's so close with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up with promo code Joe102 to get on the action, and you can turn game day into payday all season long. A lot of possibilities with the free bets. I will say locally here, I'd be looking at the Titans in that Giants game, looking at that spread. I think it looks good for betting on the Titans there. Play your way. Bet on more than just the final scoring wagers. You read everything from touchdown, total yards, catches, all kinds of prop bets. You can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. Don't fumble your chance to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code Joe102. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports partner of the NFL. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee for a sideline real money wager only. Only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issue is now available. Free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Give me a problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Hey, summer's over, but is that joint pain still there? Well, it's time to do something. Willy Donick here, and I want to tell you about QC Kinetics. You've put it off long enough. It's time to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, your back, your shoulder, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. Regenerative medicine uses highly concentrated healing properties from your own body, and it restores and repairs the damaged joint tissue. Plus, QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in this exciting breakthrough natural approach to eliminating joint pain. Lots of people here have done this, and they're living life to the fullest pain-free. So don't assume that the old ways of dealing with joint pain are the only ways. Stop putting it off. Call for a free consultation. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics. Once again, 615-249-4024.
Now's the time to make a message known. All working-class Tennesseans vote no on Amendment 1 this voting season. Right to work does not belong in the state constitution. Hardworking families deserve to have their needs addressed in today's economy. Visit TennesseeWorkerAlliance.org, paid for by the Nashville Building Trades.
My heart was racing just making spaghetti. I could have waited to tell my doctor, but I didn't wait.
I was short of breath just reading a book. I could have delayed telling my doctor, but I didn't wait.
They told their doctors and found out they have atrial fibrillation, a condition which makes it about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. If you have one or more of these symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, this is no time to wait. Contact your doctor.
Brought to you by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
I love this show.
Never miss a moment of the show.
Okay, all right, okay.
Subscribe to the Chase, Willy, and D-Mase podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase hanging out with you. Titans roster cuts have to be done by 3 o'clock tomorrow. They have to get down to 53. The biggest one so far is Titans punter Brett Kern, longtime Titans punter Brett Kern, will be released, and they're going to go with Ryan Stonehouse. But, Derek, as you've kind of given your evaluation of this roster, I know that the secondary was a concern for you at the start of training camp. They've made a lot of moves during training camp with the secondary. Now, Gillespie is one that they released, and Duke of Earl corrected us.
Yes.
That they get that draft pick back because it was a conditional pick.
Now,
we
now
need
if he
to know
comes
our
back,
facts.
Let's say this is an interesting hypothetical for the Duke of Earl. What if they re-sign him? I'm sure it's stipulated in the contract, but he seems like a guy that could float back and forth to a practice squad. How many games would he have to play before you did have to give up the pick? That's a fair question.
You know, that's part of us knowing our facts.
Yeah.
So we need to figure that out.
Got to know the facts.
Lonnie Johnson was somebody they signed after he was released by Kansas City. We know Ugo Amadi is a DB that they traded for last week. I kind of feel like both of them are going to end up making the roster. But how do you view the secondary now, Derek, as we go into the regular season?
Obviously, Fulton is, I believe he will be a starter, a returning starter anyway. Caleb Farley is on the team. Elijah Molden, I believe. Roger McCrary. Mabin. So that's 5 defensive backs. Maybe they keep 6. I don't know. But here's the interesting question. Because McCrary didn't play this last preseason game. Caleb Farley was the starter. Doesn't mean that McCrary won't be the starter, but I would love to know how close that competition truly is, because I think Roger McCrary has shown a little bit more than Caleb Farley. He can play inside. He can play outside. He hasn't let his measurables be a hindrance to him. out there on the field. He's aggressive. He's always, as TD says, he's always in phase, meaning he's always there to make a play. And for me, Caleb Farley just he hasn't quite learned how to use his hips and movement. He does a lot of grabbing and pulling, and rightfully so, because this guy hadn't played corner for a very long time. You know, he was out all last season, and then before that, I mean, this is a converted wide receiver who played quarterback in high school, wide receiver in college. They finally switched him over to corner. He ends up getting hurt, so he really hasn't had the time to develop as a cornerback. Hence, I believe that's why he grabs and pulls a little bit too much. Because once you get in the regular season, as you guys know, they're going to call this stuff. You know, they may let you get by a few times in preseason, especially when you're playing against, you know, second and third stringers. But once you get into the season, you're playing against those top flight guys. They're going to start calling those grabbing and holding calls, those pass interference. He needs to do a better job at playing with his hips, his lower body, getting in and out of breaks, trusting that he could put that foot down in transition. Right now, I don't think he 100% trusts. Sometimes he's a little bit over physical, where he doesn't have to be. He thinks he doesn't trust his feet that he can transition from one move to the next. So I would love to know how close that competition truly is for the starter, not making a team, but for the starter.
I think we all agree that with the number of guys they have, and they're good at this, as we said in the first hour, they have that AAA, 4A guy, practice squad player. Mm-hmm. They have a number of guys who have either played a few games for them in the past or look like they could play for them if needed. I think they're covered there, those replacement-level guys on the second wave. I think you're asking the key question is when you put your best 5 or 6 out there, and, of course, you need a couple extra guys, who are the top 5 to 7 that you really feel good about right now? Where is Elijah Molden in this? And, Derek, I want to get you to talk about, because I heard John Robinson during the telecast ask this question as it relates to McCreary and Elijah Molden, who missed basically the entire preseason in terms of, you know, what we saw on the field. I'm guessing he's going to be okay by the time the season starts. But that slot corner, right, the nickel guy. John Robinson was mentioning this, for example. He goes, you know, it's a different skill set.
Yeah.
Guarding the type of receiver that you're going to line up across from, plus the nuances of knowing, you know, there's blitz packages, for example, where you got to get to the quarterback. Molden was pretty good at that. What is McCreary like? But apparently McCreary, to his credit, has learned both spots in terms of knowing what the system is. I don't see Farley as that. Farley looks like a guy that's going to line up on the outside. Yeah. But so how do you see Molden versus McCreary, basically, and where McCreary is going to get used?
I think they're interchangeable. Think both of those guys. I think both of those guys give you the ability to move one of them inside if you need to, or if you're playing a dime package, you know, you can kind of play both of those guys in the slot, or have one of them come down and cover possibly a tight end. Maybe not Roger McCreary because he's not big enough, but Elijah Molden maybe, I don't know. But those two guys are interchangeable, and that's good because I think in this league, you need, 4 or 5 good corners, because what teams are doing is, they're taking their receivers and sometimes they take their best receiver and put them in a slot on certain packages. And a lot of times you can't take your best corner and slide them in a slot position to cover the slot guy. So to have someone like Roger McCreary and Elijah Molden who are used to being in that situation is a good fit for the Titans. That corner position, that slot position is a hard position to cover, man. Because you got two-way goals. Typically that guy that's in the middle, he's a quick, fast, shifty guy. Or they tend to put in bigger guys. So you got to be able to not only cover the small, shifty guys, but also cover the bigger guys.
I heard him talk about Amadi, John Robinson, during the telecast Amadi was playing. And, of course, I'm sure Robinson was really watching closely. They just traded for him, but he does that as well. He can play the slot corner. He can also work in at safety. And I heard Robinson, I think, say that he's been a pretty good blitzer off of that position at times. So there's that utility man that you're looking for too, that if Hooker were to go down or, God forbid, somebody like Byers goes down, you need those extra safeties that can go in there. So guys who figure in a package but also are a capable backup at safety, those are really important. But I feel like they got a good mix of guys to cover all that. I like the defense, and you can't emphasize enough. You never have enough guys who can cover. When you're playing the Bills and you're playing the Chiefs and you're playing the Bengals, all of these teams that are going to spread you out, they're going to run a lot of packages at you. You just never have enough guys who can cover. But I like what the Titans have bringing to the table against these elite offenses.
This is just a young secondary, and that was my biggest, sort of question mark with them. Or my biggest sort of, thing that I looked at and said, man, I don't know. I don't quite know about this. I think they're a good group, but because they haven't logged in a lot of minutes on the field together, that could be a hindrance as you move forward into the season, especially in 2-minute situations. Making sure everybody is on the same page and you know exactly what to do. But good thing they have Kevin Byard behind them and Amani Hooker that can sort of put those guys in the right position. And maybe if they do make a mistake, then Byard is over the top to help them.
Coming up next, you just hit on something, that they have a young secondary. I think there's a youth movement on this team, which in some ways is not a bad thing, but does it concern us a little bit? We will talk about that coming up next. It's Chase, Willy, and D-Mase here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
This is Tanner Janot, and this is Smashville.
And now down the right wing side, Tanner Janot. His shot, he scored! Tanner Janot with the shot!
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network. ESPN 1025, The Game.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Ford South. We all know that you're not supposed to wear white after Labor Day. So with that in mind, we're discounting all of our white vehicles. Well, maybe we should just discount the lighter colors that are close to white too, and maybe the red and blue ones since we celebrate this in America. Okay, fine. I'll discount all the cars, starting right now. On top of that, we want to celebrate all of your hard work with the most American lunch we can think of. Hot dogs. Hot dogs all day on Labor Day. So come kick your feet up, get a new car of any color, and enjoy a hot dog. You can even shop online for a new car with Newton FastPass. But you'll have to make your own hot dogs that way. Sorry. Visit NewtonFortSouth.com to learn more.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month. And inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Harman Energy is now hiring drivers for their Nashville team. Harman Energy is Tennessee's petroleum solution for major industries. Right now, they're offering competitive compensation. Fuel tank wagon drivers start at $26 an hour. Fuel transport drivers, $29 an hour. Plus, there's a $4,000 sign-on bonus for CDL drivers. Top quality benefits and a great place to work, Harman Energy employees provide totally outrageous customer service. Come be an employee owner with the Harman team. Apply now at harmanenergy.com.
Hey guys, Jeremy here, General Manager at Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars at 508 Church Street. Blend was voted Best Cigar Lounge in the world in 2017 and the Best Cigar Lounge in the country in 2020. It is the perfect spot to unwind after your workday or at nighttime. We are a trendy, upscale, luxurious bar experience. Visit Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars at 508 Church Street. Visit us online at blendbarcigar.com. We are luxury redefined.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN. Welcome into Chase, Willy, and D-Mace.
Stomach Company is delivered. There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming. Get the extra point, no problem. And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, this is Philip Forsberg. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Coming up, we'll talk to Gentry Estes of the Tennessean, get his thoughts on a lot of things going on with the Vols, the Titans, and what have you. You can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, and Facebook every day, presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. So I brought up the youth movement for the Tennessee Titans, and I think the good thing, in my opinion, is, you know, Willie, we remember a few years ago when David Poyle with the Predators, he made the decision to not re-sign some guys, to move on from some guys because he wanted to get younger. He knew that the window had not closed, but wasn't wide open like it was, to go for the Stanley Cup. So that's where we got the term competitive rebuild, and he started that process. And that team got a lot younger. Well, they overachieved. They made the playoffs, but there were still some growing pains when you go to a lot of guys that don't have a ton of experience. The Titans, it's a little bit different because there is a nice mix of veterans, but Malik Willis is sitting there as the backup. He's going to have an opportunity to learn behind Ryan Tannehill. You hope that all goes to plan. I look at somebody like Hassan Haskins, who is kind of in the same position, that he has an opportunity to sit behind Derrick Henry and learn. But you're going to be relying on young receivers. And Nick Westbrook-Akine, who is a third-year guy that has slowly worked his way up on this team, but now you're asking him to do a little bit more. Is he capable of doing that? We think he is, but we're going to find out. Treylon Burks is a rookie. You drafted him to replace A.J. Brown, who is entering his prime. We all know it's well documented what happened there, but Treylon Burks, even though he may not be a quote-unquote starter on week one, you best believe that they're going to be looking to him as the season goes on to make an impact on this team. And then also the offensive line, you either were going to have a second-year guy or a rookie starting at right tackle. It would appear you're going to have a rookie starting at right tackle. So even though I don't think a youth movement is bad necessarily, but do we worry about the positions that some of these younger guys are in and if they are truly ready for that pressure?
I think your parallel to the Predators is an interesting one because remember what David Poyle did is when he first said competitive rebuild, he sort of ended up regretting that he said that, and he changed it to competitive transition. And John Robinson hasn't really been put on the spot to name what it is that he's doing because we all believe that they still feel like they're in a window to try to win the whole thing. But if you kind of look closely, he is doing a bit of a transition in the roster. He didn't re-sign A.J. Brown. Mm-hmm. It's not like he flooded the roster with veteran guys for one-year fixes. He is absolutely infusing a lot of youth into the team. They are relying a lot on young players. So it is a little bit like last year's Predators team, although it's on a level where you're trying to thread the needle of you're pushing for the future. You got a lot of young players that you need to play well, but you're still trying to win this year with a veteran quarterback in Tannehill, and you're trying to maximize the value of Derrick Henry. And remember the big theme by a lot of the pundits, this is why most people are picking the Colts, is that they feel like the Titans have overachieved. They haven't been as good as their record the last couple of years because they've won the close games. To their credit, 13-4 in one-score games. They're a well-coached team, but when people look at the talent, they don't see an elite team other than Derrick Henry, which is why the number one question being asked is what version of Derrick Henry are going to get. So you always need contributions from young players that aren't. And so here's another move that they make with the punter, right? They didn't play for this year. They played for the long term, hoping that this punter, Stonehouse, will be just as good or better.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's not this year, he will be over time. That's another symbolic thing of.
And that's another position I should have brought up. I mean, that's important.
So they're not just playing for this year. They're not looking at, hey, let's just go for it at all costs this year, and then we're going to collapse. It's, how can we keep winning and then keep evolving? Because that's a tough thing, right? Without having to break it all the way down, like the day that they released you and Samari Roll and all of the massive changes that they had to make, where they just hit the end of the era and they said, okay, we can't go any further. We got to start over.
Well, if you look at their roster, not including minus Kern, but not including your specialist punter, kicker, snapper, they only have 3 guys in double-digit years in the NFL. At every key position, they are young, with possibly a veteran. Quarterback, obviously, Ryan Tannehill has 11 years, but then to back up him, Malik is a rookie. Logan is 3 years. You look at the running back position, you got Derrick Henry, who has logged the most years, and he's only logged 7 years. But everyone else is 2, 5, rookie with Hassan Haskins. You look at the receiver position. You got rookie, second-year guy, third-year guy, and then you have Robert Woods, who's at year 10. And you can go through the whole roster. The offensive line is the same way. The elder statesman is Ben Jones with 11 years. Taylor only has 9, I believe, and everyone else falls below Taylor. So at every position, it seems like they have that veteran guy that has logged some good years, but then under them, they got a bunch of young guys. And here's why I'm not truly sold on what everyone else is saying about the Tennessee Titans in regards to, well, they're not as good as their record indicated over the last couple of years. Well, here's the deal. They were managing until those guys got experience. And, oh, by the way, they were winning because they're coached very well. Now those guys got experience. So I can say, well, no, I truly believe in the Titans because when they didn't have experience, they were winning. Now they have experience, and I expect them to continue to win. So I'm not buying into, well, they sort of overachieved, so it's going to catch up with them. Well, they were overachieving as these guys were logging years.
Mm-hmm.
The only position that I'm worried about is the cornerback position. But other than that, I think this team has managed to keep the ship going in the right direction while these guys earned that experience that they needed.
The Titans have made it official. They have sent out the release that they will, in fact, release punter Brett Kern. General Manager John Robinson saying, quote, Brett embodies everything we look for in players for the Tennessee Titans. He's been at the top of his game for a long time in this league, has been an outstanding leader for us, and has been an excellent representation of the Titans in our community. I'm blessed to have worked with him, and on behalf of the entire organization, we wish him all the best moving forward. Kern is the longest, or was the longest tenured Titan. And get this, guys, in the franchise, going back to Houston, only 2 other players have played more regular season games for the Titans than him, Bruce Matthews and Elvin Bethea.
Mm-hmm.
He's played the most games of anyone since the team became the Titans, with 177 consecutive games played from 2009 to 2020. And that was the second longest streak in Titans Oilers history behind, you guessed it, Bruce Matthews.
Yeah. Significant. Very significant. Big piece of the history, especially of the Tennessee Titans. When you think about it, I mean, he's a guy that will not be forgotten at all. So,
I have a trivia question today. I'll leave it at that. I just got what the trivia question
Are
is.
you saying you'd like to ask today's
I will ask the question.
trivia question? So that's at 1:30 today?
We'll do that at 1:30.
Okay, bank that one. This is good. Final thought on the window, right? Because I think we're seeing what they're doing, the plan. It's a transition, to use that Predator term, to where when they moved on from A.J. Brown, they're going younger where they can. They are also paying Derrick Henry big money this year, paying Ryan Tannehill big money this year, $38 million, right? They could have broken that up, both of those contracts. They could have pushed the pile back. They're going with that. Bud Dupree, huge cap figure this year. I think it's to say, okay, we're in the window, but let's set ourselves up so we're not paying a ton of dead money on the other side. And so, to me, the window changes, or the era changes, the day that they move on from Tannehill and Derrick Henry. I don't even know if it'll be the same year, but after this year, there's going to be a big moment of what do we do at those two positions. But in the meantime, you're trying to win this year, see where it goes.
So my question is, how long do we think this window is open?
To me, the window is over when you're moving on to a different quarterback.
Yeah.
Because I think they've shown that you can move on to another running back and still get decent production. You're not going to have a special guy necessarily like Henry, but you have maybe a less expensive guy and more money to address other things on the roster and still get decent production. But when you change quarterbacks, that's a whole different deal.
Well, the window closes when they stop buying into what Vrabel is preaching. That's when the window closed. I think he's been on enough organizations. He was a part of, a franchise that will be considered probably the greatest franchise in football when it's all said and done, because of championships and their consistency. But if you look at those places, whether it's New England or Pittsburgh, Kansas City, he played for Kansas City for a while. The underlying thing with all those teams is they know how to sort of what was Poyle's thing, a rebuild, a competitive rebuild.
Transition.
Yeah, transition. They know how to competitively transition each 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it's not the boom and bust that
Absolutely.
it used to
They're
be.
always going to be good. So the window, as long as you're always a good team and well coached, your window is always open.
I'll say this, Willy, or Villy. Viking Matt wants to know what the plan is. So if you could help us with that, that would be great. Coming up next, Tom Brady has spoken. You'll hear from the Bucs quarterback. Coming up next, Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus. High temperatures today in the low 90s. Adding in the humidity, feels closer to 100 this afternoon. And the chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms move in this afternoon through this evening and continue through tomorrow morning.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face truck today.
Celebrate back-to-school season with Hiller. This month only, get free backyard upgrades when you replace essential home systems like a free Traeger grill with a new whole home generator or a free Yeti cooler with a new tankless water heater. And Hiller's keeping you cool for back-to-school with zero-interest financing for up to 12 months on select new HVAC systems. Visit happyhiller.com. Happy you'll be, or the service is free.
Call the Happy Face truck today.
Progressive presents Forced Metaphors about bundling your home, auto, and other vehicles.
Any sports fan knows defense wins championships. Your championship is your boat, motorcycle, RV, or ATV. And your best defense is the round-the-clock protection offered by Progressive, which is like having a goalie, a 7-foot shot-blocking specialist, and a linebacker all wrapped into one. Which, to circle back, means you're going to win the championship. Because defense.
Forced Metaphors. Presented by Progressive. Bundle and protect today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Robbie Stanley.
To avoid non-contact injuries and not repeat last year.
Joe Rexrode.
Just wait until next year's national TV schedule comes out.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
It's all personal, everyone's got different situations they're dealing with, so we all have really unique challenges to our life, and, I'm 45 years old, man. There's a lot of shit going on, so, you just gotta try to figure out life the best you can, and, it's a continuous process, so.
That is Bucs quarterback Tom Brady talking about his 11-day absence that he took from training camp, which means he missed the joint practices with the Titans and the preseason game. Welcome back in. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Willie Donick, Derek Mason with you. We reviewed the trivia question during the break. It's going to be a good one.
It's an outstanding question.
So
it's a doozy.
It's a doozy.
It's a humdinger.
A humdinger. But Tom Brady addressing his absence. He hadn't done it to this point. He says, quote, "I'm 45 years old. I got a lot of bleep going on." And I'll tell you what, I'll just say it. I'll tell you what I think.
I think we think the same thing.
We think the same thing. I think Gisele's pissed he came back.
I mean, it
just
sounds
to put it
funny,
bluntly,
but
I think that he, because here's the problem. When a guy retires and you say, I want to spend more time with the family, and then you come out of retirement, everybody's going to go, well, what happened to the family?
Yeah.
So I think that, and it could be they had a trip planned or, whatever, and he basically said, hey, I'll come back, but I've already promised we're going on this trip, and everybody understands. Now, he's Tom Brady. He doesn't need the preseason. He really doesn't need training camp. I mean, he could have pulled a full-on Brett Favre and come out of retirement this week, and you've been fine.
Yeah.
But that was my takeaway, is that I got a lot of bleep going on. She's mad that he decided to come back.
Well,
which I get.
I understand that. Listen, I know that look that he has on his face. There are a lot of men know that look, especially when you're doing something on one hand that's so stressful. You enjoy it, but so stressful. But then on the other hand, there's things that are going on that nobody know about. And you try to keep things balanced. So, you just try to stay even keel. You try to keep your head above water. And he seems like he's stressed out. Seemed like he lost more weight than what we saw at the beginning of the camp. And yeah, it has nothing to do with a trip. I tell you that right now. It has nothing to do with a trip. It has a lot to do with possibly, listen, you said you're retiring. Like you said, Chase, you said you're retiring. You want to spend more time with the family. That was your big thing. Well, when you got an opportunity to spend time with the family, you didn't want to. That's not really what you wanted to do. And then you chose to go back to football. So is it us or is it football? Which one is it? You've lived out your dream. And she's probably lived out hers as well, being a model and everything else. But you lived out your dream. I'm no longer doing the things that I love doing. I'm at home with the kids. You said you're retiring because you wanted to spend time with the kids. Now all of a sudden, you don't want to spend time with us.
Right.
What's going on here? There's more things going on, and it's stressing him out. That's why he had to leave and go take care of whatever it is. I can only assume what it was, and it wouldn't be fair for me to say that on radio, but I can assume what it is, and it has to do with him and his wife.
Sure.
But it stresses you out, and maybe, just maybe, his sort of peace or his space is on the football field, where we were always, we were always taught this. Everybody in this locker room, there are 53 men with 53 problems. So, and probably 53 men with 55 problems, because one guy may have more problems than the other. But there are 50
at least 3 guys have 2 problems.
Herm Edwards. 1 car, 1 house,
one of everything.
1 girl,
yeah.
one of everything.
One of everything. 1 problem. But that's not the way it goes. There's 53 men, and there might be 55 or 58 problems. But we will always listen. We have a job to do. When you walk through that door, that suitcase you have of problems, put it at the door, walk into this building, concentrate on what you're doing. When you leave the building, pick that suitcase up and deal with it, you know?
Would you be concerned that this is going to affect him this year?
No. I don't think I don't think it will, because he has gotten to, as athletes, we compartmentalize everything. Like I said, 53 guys, 53 problems. We are conditioned to compartmentalize a lot of things. You know, this has its space, this has its space, and this has its space. When I'm in a football building, this is what I'm thinking about. I got to put that thing in a suitcase. So I don't think this will affect him. I would be surprised if it affected him. Now, you know, there may be other things, age, and he may get hurt or something that may affect him, but I don't think what he's going through, I think he's so much of a perfectionist on the field that he will block that stuff out for 3 hours.
But the fact that he was away completely for 11 days sort of goes against everything that he has done before, just that dedication.
So this had to be really big.
Yes. And so you do wonder that. And look, it's his private stuff.
Exactly.
We can all definitely have our guests, probably, something family related. The other thing that was noticeable to me is he looked like he had, I don't know, lost weight. Is that fair to say?
Stress.
He's a different look to him.
Willie. Stress.
You're saying stress.
It's stress.
My thought was, the TB12, the supplements, things like that when you're 45, you got to have some tricks up your sleeve to stay physically able to maneuver, to get the ball there. I've always wondered. He's a freak of nature to begin with, but you gotta combat that. It's father time, man. We're talking about 45. We're not talking about 40. We're talking about 5 years older than 5 years past 40. When he was 40, I was saying, there's no way. But he has done this. So I'm just like, what has he done to his body? And what price has he paid to play this long? So all of these are just fascinating questions, and we're going to watch it play out here. The division looks very winnable. I don't think he would have come back unless he thought he can win. They have a new coach. They got offensive line issues. There's a lot of challenges in front of him here, but we'll see how it goes.
His sanctuary is the football field.
Yeah.
And is that a healthy thing? Like, everybody at some point's got to transition to post-football life. You had to do it. Everybody has to do it at some point.
But no matter who you are, Willie, the great ones or the not-so-great ones, you still have that transition is still hard for you. His sanctuary is the football field. That's where he thrived. That's where he has total control, is the football field. Nothing else. He has total control over that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And he did this whole man in the arena thing that was kind of looking back on his career, and she's in it, and everybody's happy, and it just like, okay, he's retiring. Like it felt like it was going to happen, and then he actually does it, and now he goes back on it, and so it does come off as a little phony. Now, a guy like him, I wasn't surprised because, like you said, football is his sanctuary, and so he's been married to football longer than he's been married to Giselle, but now he's got to figure that out. He's got to figure out what the balance is. And look, I have no doubt that Brady's going to figure this out. He's dealt with deflated balls before. He can do that again. So I think he'll be fine.
Life can be the ultimate cloak for you.
That went
really
over your head, didn't it?
What's going on?
You just ignored that.
What did you say?
Come on, man. You got to help me out here.
I'm sorry,
these are the jokes. These are the
jokes.
jokes.
These are the jokes. I'm sorry, Jace.
Jace has got jokes.
Life can be the ultimate cloak for what's really going on. Yeah, it could be deflating as well.
That's what it is.
And this is
in Brady's, football is his cloak. It's like football hides everything else that's going on in his life.
But that's where, at least from afar, like all of us get to just watch, and he entertains us. He's the greatest of all time, and we love knowing what the next chapter, like, with the excitement of what's the next chapter going to hold. I just hope that all of everything that he's done, that you don't pay so much of a price behind the scenes that he regrets it.
Sometimes
coming
you
back.
do.
You do pay a price.
You do, yeah.
No doubt. Coming up next, Gentry Estes from the Tennessean is going to join these guys. I have some suit duties, so I will bid you adieu and be back tomorrow. But that is all coming up next. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You watch The Game. We talk the game.
You can't just pick up one guy and be competitive in the playoffs.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, football fans. Dak Prescott here. And I'm here to tell you that with NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV, you can watch your favorite team no matter where you live. Because NFL Sunday Ticket gives you every live out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon. So switch to DirecTV and learn how to get the 2022 NFL Sunday Ticket season included at no extra cost. Call 1-800-DIRECTV.
With choice package and above, 24-month agreement required. Call for details.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
Here's the thing about Derrick Henry. I don't know when the day is going to come, but it is going to come where you keep waiting, I keep waiting, we keep waiting for Derrick Henry to take the ball and get 9 yards and get 8 yards. And we're used to Derrick getting 1 yard, or we're used to Derrick losing a yard, and then Derrick getting 6 yards, and then Derrick for 2, and Derrick for 6, and Derrick for 3, and Derrick for 1, and Derrick for 8, and Derrick for 4, and Derrick for 75. Like, we're used to it. And there's going to be a point in time where there's very few 6s and there's no 75s. And I don't know when that day's coming. And I don't think John Robinson knows when that day's coming.
Tune in Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6.
on ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. From the Hillside Medical Game Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram. WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robbie and Rex Road, Chase, Willy, and D-Mase.
Stillman and Company. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball. We got pass rushes. Awesome Game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
a Cromwell media station.
Now let's see if we can bring them to life, all right?
Bringing you entertainment and informative sports talk during your workday.
Smart, funny, classy, and I like him a lot.
This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase with Chase McCabe, Willie Donick,
Mason, touchdown, Tennessee.
and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
This is a new level of geek you got going on here.
Final hour of the program here. Chase, Willy, D-Mase on this Monday. Roster moves going on around the league. It'll be finalized tomorrow. And then the countdown to the regular season for the NFL is on. It's a full week of college football ahead of us. We'll have the silly underdog picks later this week. We'll debut that. So we are really getting into the groove now. Willie Donick, Derek Mason here with you. We'll have trivia at 1:30. It is an outstanding trivia question that Chase McCabe, doing his homework, has come up with. We'll have tickets to the Blended Festival when it's on the line at 1:30. We'll have our 3 fantasy questions of the day during this hour as well. But we started off, as we promised earlier, with Gentry Estes with the Tennessean. We're going to bounce around to a couple different topics. A lot going on right now. Gentry, welcome to the show.
Yeah, hey, good to be with you guys.
All right, Gentry, we're going to hit you with a number of different things here. You're covering the whole scene. Let's start with Vanderbilt. A good win for them against Hawaii, and the big announcement today about the naming rights to the stadium, to where, in reading a little bit more about it, it looks like it just goes beyond, take the check from First Bank. It looks like they want to really try to do some things in the modern times as times change in athletics, college-wise.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of the next step on this Vandy United push that they've been on for a while now, and I do think it's, I've thought for a while it's a really positive step and something that had kind of been long overdue, honestly, with the football program at least, in terms of upgrading facilities. And you can see some of the work that had already taken place. They had to scrimmage this preseason out at Ensworth because the stadium wasn't available. They got new turf there. They've done some work already in the facility in Magoogan. So, there's a lot of encouraging developments on that front for a university that I think needed to probably step it up financially with their athletic department, and they have.
How optimistic should you be, based on especially how far they've come from last year, losing to East Tennessee State? You watch Hawaii, you don't think they're going to light the world on fire. They're going to be pretty weak. But winning 63-10 and dominating going away, what can that do for them? Yeah, no doubt, impressive. I remember going back in the spring and in the preseason, I'm watching some practices and some scrimmages here and there, and I'm thinking, all right, this team's better, like maybe quite a bit better. But you don't want to sound the alarm too much on that because I wanted to see it in a real game. I wanted to see what, honestly, we saw in the second half of that game. That Vanderbilt showed on both sides of the ball, honestly, that they were quite a bit better. They were more aggressive. They were more confident. They just looked like a completely different team from the one that opened last season. And that's a big deal to me, even though I do think they were playing a pretty bad team in Hawaii. I think Hawaii's probably in for a long season. But that was a game going in. Vanderbilt should win that game. I think they were favored by almost 10 points to win that game. And to have them win it easily like that, I think made a real statement. I mean, this is a team that last year they're playing UConn in a game that was among the worst teams in FBS, and they barely won it. It's a big change.
We're talking with Gentry Estes. You can follow him on Twitter at Gentry_Estes for the Tennessean. Now, Gentry, looking at this team, they did a lot of good things this past weekend. Ended up scoring 63 points. I can't tell you the last time I seen a Vandy scoreboard that had 63 points in their favor.
I saw one that the other team had 63.
Yeah, I've seen that, but not Vandy. But they did a lot of things well offensively and defensively. What are some things that you saw that heading into the next game that possibly they need to correct?
The first 10 minutes was, it's like I wrote, it was same old Vandy, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing. As lopsided as that game ended up being for most of the first quarter up until the very end there when they scored a couple of to kind of start taking control of the game. First 10 minutes of the game wasn't very good. I mean, there were the bad penalty killed the first offensive possession. The second offensive possession, you're throwing a ball away on 4th and 5. I think the slow start there is a little concerning. I think, when you're playing a team, when you're going to be playing some teams in the SEC where you'd be down 21-0 before you realize what's going on. But I think for the most part, they showed a lot of maturity and confidence to take control of the game and not to let that rattle them. I think in the past that certainly had been the case. And then once they got their footing and realized how much better they were than Hawaii, it was over. And I think they're going to gain a lot of confidence from that more than anything, having a slow start and I think rebounding the way they did.
Yeah, because they ultimately, after that first, quarter or first few minutes, they seemed to settle in and the defense picked up. Wright did an excellent job at running the football, but then he did an excellent job too. There's still some things I think he needs to get better at. But for the most part, with that team, playing that team Hawaii, I think he did a really good job at distributing the ball amongst his receivers. But their running back situation, I think this is going to be one of the bright spots for this team moving forward this season.
No question. Rocco Griffin comes in not as the starter there toward the end of the half, and Hawaii can't tackle him. They wanted nothing to do with Rocco Griffin. I tweeted about at halftime saying, if I'm Vandy, I make Hawaii tackle that guy a lot more. And he's, and Ray Davis is the guy ahead of him. So yeah, they're pretty good at. I would say they're. When it comes to running backs, that's probably the strongest part of the whole team. But I'll tell you, early in that game on Hawaii's first touchdown, they had a 37-yard touchdown where the guy wasn't even touched. Ball carrier out of the backfield. They messed up the run fits, and it was two seniors in Anthony Orji and Maxwell Worship, who I think are two of the better players on that defense. Kind of let that happen. By the end of the quarter, those were the two responsible for the fumble. With Worship making the hit and Orji taking it. So I think that to me spoke volumes about the fact of them figuring out very quickly how to get where they need to be. And I think Mike Wright did that too. He had a bit of a slow start, but after that he was pretty good.
We'll talk with Gentry Estes of the Tennessean. Now the Titans finished up their last preseason game. Obviously they're trying to get down to 53 men pretty soon here. What did you think of Malik Willis's last performance?
I thought it was a good bit better. I feel like he improved a lot over this training camp, and I think the Titans obviously made a real commitment to giving him more reps in practice, giving him a lot more snaps in these preseason games, and I think it paid off. I think you've got to. I think a little too much was probably made of some of Malik's struggles in practice earlier in preseason. I think there was a lot of stuff that was pretty common for any rookie. One of the things I've always said about him is I love his mentality when it comes to move on to the next play, not let mistakes get him down. I mean, he seems unfazed by things that I think would rattle a lot of younger quarterbacks, and I think you saw that over the course of this preseason. I think he was really able to focus on what was important and become a better quarterback in the way they wanted him to be one, be a little more polished, a little more pocket presence, deciding where to go with the ball. And you saw a good bit more of that in this third game. Now, is that enough to where the Titans would feel comfortable with him as the backup all season? I'm still not so sure about that. I don't really know how that's going to go. To where if Willis becomes that number two, do they look for someone else? Is Logan Woodside on the practice squad? There's still a lot of unanswered questions there.
Yeah, that seems to be what everybody's tossing around, Gentry, is are you willing to risk losing Woodside to keep that extra roster spot? And in a perfect world, Woodside is on the practice squad and you still have him available if and when the time comes that you need to really explore the backup quarterback. So how do you feel about that one?
I think they probably get away with it if they tried to do it, but how do you know? You don't know. There could be one team out of 31 that just loves Logan Woodside and wants to take that chance. So, I mean, obviously it's a gamble, but I think in the Titans' case it would be a calculated gamble that they'd probably get away with. I like the idea of doing it. I did a 53-man projection yesterday, and the way I saw it working was you're either going to keep 5 receivers and 3 quarterbacks or 2 quarterbacks and 6 receivers. I didn't see a way to do both of those, and that's just how I saw it. But they're facing some very difficult decisions right now, and I don't know if you keep those 3 quarterbacks if you feel as though you can kind of hide Woodside on the practice squad for when you need him.
Who's the extra receiver that would be at stake in your theory there? That's where it comes down to, because somewhere in there, if it's not the receiver, it's an extra defensive back, it's an offensive lineman, things like that. So when you were weighing it, you were weighing Woodside versus who at the wide receiver spot?
2 of them. And it's a good question, Willie, because I went back and forth on this, and it was the last thing I decided before I published the thing was Cody Hollister or Des Fitzpatrick in that last spot. And I feel like 5 receivers are set, and I think we all know who those 5 are,
right?
Counting Racing McMath with Phillips and the other guys. But I'm still not sure on Des Fitzpatrick. I'm not sure the Titans are sure on Des Fitzpatrick. And I think Cody Hollister is a guy who has proven, they would trust him in a game. They've seen it before. So it kind of went between those two. I lean toward Hollister, but I think there's also certainly an option in which they go with 5 at that spot.
Something to look for. Gentry, any thoughts? I know Tennessee had their big first game day or game week press conference as they get ready for their opener against Ball State on Thursday. Any thoughts on them at the end of the preseason?
Yeah, I think they'll have a good game Thursday night, win pretty easily, and it'll go how we expect. I guess after Georgia State, you just can never assume that. But I think Tennessee is advanced beyond that now, and certainly with their expectations this season. I like Tennessee this year. I think they're set up to have to take some more strides from last season. I feel like they're better defensively. I think that's the big question whenever you play the way they play is can you have big time success at this level of college football with the fast break offense when you're asking so much of your defense, when you're dead last in FBS and time of possession. You're going to need a lot more depth defensively to make that work than what they had last year. So to me, that's kind of a big question. Depth defensively and getting off the field, being better third down defensively. These are things you can kind of start watching for Thursday night in a game they should win pretty easily because I think we're going to get to see a lot of guys play. It's a good opener for Tennessee. I think they can get their feet under them and get some momentum going.
Gentry, great insight. Thanks a lot for joining us. Good job bouncing around to all the big topics, and we'll talk to you again here very soon.
Yeah, you bet. Take care, guys.
All right, Gentry Estes, he covers the whole scene for the Tennessean, joining us for a little Monday perspective as we hit the big topics. When we come back, let's circle back to Malik Willis because people may not have heard your assessment, Derek, early in the show a couple hours ago. And then at 1:30, we'll have our Titans trivia question of the day. I guess we can't call it training camp trivia anymore. It's just Titans trivia because we're moving on. And we're going to do a daily trivia question. It won't always be Titans, but we'll kind of wrap up that part of it. But a good Titans question at the bottom of the hour for a prize. We'll also have our fantasy questions of the day as well. But next, we'll talk about Malik Willis's performance on Saturday and short-term, long-term, what's next for him. Stay tuned. You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase here on 102.5 The Game.
Silly Underdog Picks is back. Get your friends and sign up today at theGameNashville.com. Pick the 3 football underdog teams each week you think will win for a chance to win weekly prizes. Like a pair of tickets to a sporting event or to a concert in Nashville. Go to theGameNashville.com or the Game Nashville app and sign up and play now. Then tune in every Thursday at noon for our expert picks. Silly Underdogs is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket.
Getting close, folks, and you can kick off week 1 of the NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Joe Rexrod here inviting you to join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. All you need to do is sign up with the promo code JOE102 to get in on the action. Turn game day into payday all season long. Future bets, hey, right now I think the Titans are a little bit undervalued. If you want to do an over-under on their 8.5. If you want to go Super Bowl, look, I'm loving the Buffalo Bills. You want to do some future bets there. Of course, you can do more than the final score on a weekly basis. Touchdowns, total yards, catches. Combine things for a same-game parlay. It's easy, it's fast, it's safe. Don't fumble your chance to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code JOE102. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports book partner of the NFL. You must be 21 or older in present Tennessee. First online room money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues now with free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbet.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture, eat strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
Get a great deal on versatile Kubota equipment today, like Kubota BX and L Series compact tractors. Part of our tractor lineup rated #1 in durability and owner experience. Z Series mowers and Sidekick utility vehicles. Stop by your local Kubota dealer today. Bring home the Kubota L2501 tractor for $0 down, 0% APR for up to 48 months, plus save up to $1,100. Now through September 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more details. 3 locations to serve you: Columbia Kubota, Franklin Kubota, and Krebs Kubota. ColumbiaKubota.com or FranklinKubota.com or KrebsKubota.com.
This is Chef John from Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville. Inviting you to come join us for breakfast and lunch. We are offering some exciting new menu items. For breakfast, we have a smoked prime rib hash. Comes with a sunny side up egg, hominy, caramelized onions. It's a great start to your day. We are featuring a sourdough pancake made with a sourdough bread starter. It's a fun spin on the classic buttermilk pancake. As always, Kitchen Notes is serving biscuits all day. Come join us and create a memorable experience here at the Omni Hotel. Food is all about memories for us. We'd like you to start a new memory here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Hotel.
Breakfast at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
National Playmakers Academy with former Vols Buck Fitzgerald and James Stone, along with former Austin Peay Governor Vic Wright, offer one of the best football developmental organizations in the nation. MPA has over 30 NFL alumni, 800-plus college football scholarship signees, and 25 high school football All-Americans. If you have a student athlete in middle school or high school that is looking for the best football training and college football recruiting help around, contact National Playmakers Academy today, 615-456-2680, or email april.mpafootball@gmail.com.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. I'm ready to step this up a notch. You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase moving on during this 1 o'clock hour. Stillman and Company coming up at 2 o'clock. Jared and Caroline are poised and ready for their assessment, and I'm sure they will hit this topic. Derek, let's talk Malik Willis. For people that missed your assessment earlier in the show, I boil it down to this for Saturday. You know, clearly he continues to make progress the more you see him play. What I really was excited about is if you just took the best 6 to 10 plays that he had, they were eye-opening plays. They were a wow factor. You know, the 50-yard run, the next level that I hadn't seen before in the game situation, moving and then hitting a receiver downfield, sometimes with the sidearm throw. You figure, at first when he throws sidearm, you're like, okay, mechanically, can that work? I think running to his right, he looks pretty natural throwing it sidearm. Running it to his left, we'll see. But I think you got something there, right? He clearly can really, really run. There's still a ton. Like if you look at the other plays, there's a lot of other plays where you're like, okay, decision-making has still got a ways to go there. But give me your thoughts of just how much better you think he is now compared to maybe where you thought he would be at the start of camp.
Well, I mean, at the start of camp, he's a rookie. And rookie do rookie things. And he might not look as polished as he did coming out, his last collegiate game. Because a lot of football is just feeling comfortable with what you're doing. And then, it's just like going from your freshman year to your sophomore year to the junior year. If you are a player, you get better each year. If you are one of those guys, you get better each year. And you get comfortable with what you're doing. And you feel like, I belong. So you don't think about those other things that may hamper you. Same thing with Malik Willis. Coming in as a rookie, he's going to do rookie things. He looked shaky, throwing balls, his accuracy was not there. He was inaccurate on throws. He was running when he should have just been scanning the field a little bit more. But this is what, I like about this young man is that from game 1 to game 3, it's a different guy from as far as playing the quarterback position. The mistakes he made in game 1, he didn't necessarily make in game 2. He took whatever coaching that was applied in a classroom And then he, in turn, applied it on the field from game 1 to game 2. Okay, we want you to not just look to run quickly. Scan the field a little bit. And then if you got to run, run. Okay, well, from game 1 to game 2, he did that. He's listening to the coaches. Well, from game 2 to game 3, because there were still things he needed to work on after game 2. But from game 2 to game 3, there was more coaching in the middle. And you saw he didn't make those same mistakes in game 3 that he did in game 1. Prime example, I think it was the first series of the game. He hits his first play of the game. He hits Traylon Burks on and I said last week they need to get
and it seemed like
Burks.
I was thinking of you as soon as I saw that play, because it was almost like that was a plan. Let's see if we can get this going.
Just give him the ball quick. Yeah. A hitch, a slant, a quick out. Just give him a smoke route. Give him something where he can get the ball in his hands, where he and the quarterback can start to build a rapport. Well, what did they do? Took his 2 or 3 step drop, 3-step drop. He was already in shotgun anyway. He throws it out to Traylon Burks. He comes back. He hits Robert Woods on a 5-yard out. Nice catch by Robert Woods also. And then on 3rd, and I think it was like 3rd and 5, he gets outside the pocket. You can see, you're thinking he's going to run. But in his mind, he's thinking running is my last result. He ends up hitting Traylon Burks on a crossing route for a first down. That shows me progression. Because week 1 of the preseason, he would have ran that and would have got the first down. And we wouldn't have said of anything.
Yeah.
But he would have ran and got the first down. Now he's thinking more so pass first, run if I have to. Hopefully that can continue with this growth. I think he was thinking about passing so much so that he had an opportunity to run and he didn't run. And he took a sack. Because in his mind, I want to show the coaches that what you're telling me in the classroom, I'm implementing on the field.
Mm-hmm.
So just with that alone showed me that this kid, he's really getting it. Now, he finished the regular season. I mean, not the regular season, but he finished preseason 27 for 49. I think he had 3 or 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. And the interception, well, 2 interceptions. It was a tip ball, in this past game. It was I'm just talking about his stats throughout preseason. But this last game he had an interception. That wasn't his fault. Now, you talk about the throwing angles. He's going to have to, do that because he's not 6'5" like Ryan Tannehill. It's not 6'5", 6'6". It's 6'2", somewhere around there. So when those bigger defensive linemen get their hands up, he has to throw around them a la Patrick Mahomes. And when he threw Traylon Burks the touchdown, that was a sidearm throw. Mm-hmm. Why? Because the defender was in his face with his hands up. And the only way he was going to get that ball released is if he threw a sidearm. And he completed it, touchdown to Traylon Burks. So to me, this is his job. The backup quarterback position, he's won that job because he showed that from week 1 to week 3 that he's gotten a lot better, that he has taken coaching and he has implemented it on the field.
So you think you've been hinting at this for the last week or so, you think he gives you a better chance to win as the backup than Logan Woodside?
I think yes, because to me, Logan Wood, this was a prime opportunity because Malik Willis, he was going to be on the roster, period, unless he just bombed out. If he showed any progression, he was going to be on the roster. 3rd round pick, he's on the roster. But what this showed me is Woodside had an opportunity to take this competition and really push Malik Willis and in turn push himself to be a better quarterback and be that number 2 guy. He didn't. He didn't take advantage of it.
When you say that, are you basing that on what we saw in the preseason games or all around what you saw? Because I think I can make the argument if I'm Woodside, did you really give me a chance? In the games I was there with the scrubs, I led him on the touchdown drive at the end. I didn't get to play that much. Or if it's more in the practices and in the controlled scrimmages.
I think it's both. But in the Titans' mind, they're thinking, listen, you've had opportunities. You've been here. So you shouldn't be going through these growing pains that you're going through as a guy that has been in this system already. And he was. To me, this was an opportunity for him to elevate his play And that would have helped Malik Willis as well. But it would have elevated his play, and it would have showed the Tennessee Titans, I am the backup quarterback. I know Malik is, y'all want him to be the future. I get that. But as of now, I'm the backup quarterback. He didn't show that.
So you right now are saying the move is waive Logan Woodside, keep him as insurance on the practice squad, but you're risking losing him. You're okay losing him if that's what it comes down to.
I'm okay with losing him. The Titans worked out a quarterback last week. I don't know if the purpose of working out that quarterback last week was because they knew Ryan Tannehill wasn't playing. So they wanted to have a third quarterback just in case something happened in the game. But they did work out another quarterback. To me, I don't think the Titans are worried about if they do release Logan Woodside that someone else will pick him up.
Mm-hmm.
They believe he will be able to go through waivers, and then if they choose to, they can bring him back on the practice squad.
Right. You have to be prepared just in case that doesn't happen. But I think their sense is, okay, we'll take that risk. The risk might be minimum, and if we've got to go get another guy off the street, then so be it. We'll just ride with Malik Willis. Now, finally, on Willis, how do you continue to prepare him to be the backup, but also continue to make sure he is learning long-term? Because to me, the long-term question is much more important
than the short
than if he just has to play one game this year.
Well,
can he do that? Can you do both?
I think you can, but it's incumbent on Pat O'Hara, the quarterback's coach, that's his job, to make sure Malik Willis is prepared in case, Downing, that's not his job, the offensive coordinator. He's putting together a game plan. He's worried about everybody. The quarterback's coach, Pat O'Hara, is only worried about the guys in his room necessarily. And he doesn't have to worry at all about Ryan Tannehill. He may coach him up a little bit, but he's not worried about him not knowing anything. His attention should be behind the scenes on developing Malik Willis. He's going to get maybe 10 to 15 reps throughout the whole week with the first or second team. That's just how it is. A lot of his preparation, along with Pat O'Hara in the classroom, will be him taking scout team reps. He has to make that sort of his game time preparation. That's what I did as a second, third, and fourth year guy. I took, the reps with the scout team because I wasn't a starter then. So I had to treat it as a game. That's how I knew I was going to get better. That's the only way I knew I was going to get better, is I treated that as a game.
And as we pointed out, that's what football doesn't have in their developmental system. They don't have the minor leagues. They don't have that developmental program where you can get those game reps. Won't be the last time we talk about it, but hopefully, if everything goes the way they hope for, this won't be a huge thing during the season, that you'll just now have Malik Willis fade into the backdrop and develop during the quiet times. When we come back, we'll have our trivia question of the day. It's a really good one. And we'll have our 3 fantasy questions of the day. We'll kick those around. In the meantime, let me tell you about QC Kinetics right now. You've put it off long enough. If you've got the joint pain and it's hindered you all summer, real lasting relief is there for you through QC Kinetics. Whether it's your knees, your back, your shoulder, your hips, any joint pain, QC Kinetics can get at it and get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. They use the highly concentrated healing properties from your own body to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in this exciting breakthrough natural approach to eliminating that joint pain. They're here in our listening area, and they're helping people. They're nationwide, and don't assume those old ways and traditional ways of dealing with joint pain are the only ways. Call QC Kinetics and get the free consultation. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
Titans training camp is underway.
Talking Titans?
What wide receivers make the team?
Traylon Burks.
The physicality.
Robert Woods.
Route concepts and how to get open. Who starts on the offensive line?
It's a full-on right tackle battle.
What other storylines will stand out?
Malik Willis, some of the best he's looked in camp.
Titans training camp coverage is fueled by Parman Energy. Now hiring fuel drivers. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com and by USA Hemp Store on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Chad Withrow. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free. They've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs and to separate your fragile items from the bulk of your furniture. And their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give my friends at TriStar Moving a call at 615-640-1219 or online at nashvillemoving.org/radio. Tell them Chad referred you for 10% off.
This September, the Chainsmokers hit Music City at the Blended Wine and Music Festival. 24 bands, 2 stages, 1 weekend, all under the Nashville skyline. Performances by the Chainsmokers, Loud Luxury, Sick Kick, Fetty Wap, Breland, and more. September 10th and 11th, the ultimate social experience drops in Music City. Enjoy a massive 100-foot wine tent, culinary village, and wellness lounge. Get tickets now at blendedfestival.com.
You've never knowingly feed your dog sawdust, but it's one of the most common fillers found in dog food today. Even the ones labeled healthy can contain powdered cellulose, otherwise known as wood pulp.
I'm veterinarian Dr. Marty Goldstein. Your dog needs a biologically appropriate diet. That's why I developed Nature's Blend, a freeze-dried raw food, premium cuts of meat, omega-3 rich seeds, and superfood veggies and fruit.
This is my dog Cleo. She's a 10-year-old Chihuahua. Before we started Dr. Marty's food, she was really not spunky, a lot of digestion problems, joint pain.
Nature's Blend is made in North America and is pantry safe.
Now she acts like a little puppy. She's running around.
For a limited time, save 54% off Nature's Blend and receive a free pack of premium dog treats. Go to drmartypets.com/good or text GOOD to 511-511.
I guarantee it with a 100% 90-day return of your purchase price.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 1 additional text. Text stop to opt out.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN. Welcome into Chase, Willy, and D-Mace.
Dominic Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming. Get the extra point, no problem. And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey Nashville, this is Laura Rutledge from the SEC Network, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I gotta wonder if Nick has been behind the scenes watching a lot of Magnum PI reruns on YouTube or something. He just likes the song. The rookie producer back there.
I have not been watching the show, but Joe Dubin got me on the song.
I like the song.
This is like your junior high band, like tried to pick up the sheet music to this, start playing it. You're like, super cool. Wow, man, they know the Magnum PI theme song. In fact, back in the day, like you would have the theme song be like a top 40 hit sometimes. You hear it on the counter. You don't hear that too often these days. Now, it is time for today's Titans trivia question, and it's a really good one. Brett Kern has been told he will be released by the Tennessee Titans. They're going to go with Ryan Stonehouse, the rookie punter, who's got the big leg. He punted the entire night on Saturday. It seemed to be very telling. He's been holding for the field goals. They feel good about him short-term and long-term. We'll see what happens when the pressure is on in a real regular season game. But in the meantime, we say goodbye to Brett Kern as a Titan, and what a tremendous career he had. And that is the crux of the question. Now remember, you can't text in the answer. You have to call. Nick's ready to take your calls at 615-737-1025. Brett Kern is one of 2 Titans players in history to have played for every Titans coach. Now, forget about the Oilers. Every Titans coach. Brett Kern played for every one of them, from Jeff Fisher on through Mike Vrabel. There's only one other guy that did that. Can you name this Titan? 615-737-1025. Brett Kern is one of 2 Titans players to have played for every Titans head coach. Who is the other one? 737-1025. If you win, you get a pair of 2-day passes to the Blended Festival, which is coming up at the Bicentennial Mall on September the 10th. Passes to the Blended Festival at the Bicentennial Mall, State Park, September 10th, right downtown. That should be a good time. So jump on in if you know the answer. Now to our fantasy questions of the day. All right, Derek. I've been watching a little NFL Network, and they bounce around to the different camps. I'm not watching a whole lot. I honestly haven't watched any other preseason games besides the Titans, which is usually my practice. I'm watching a lot more baseball. But they keep talking about this guy, Dameon Pierce, for the Houston Texans. Remember last year, if you had a Texans running back in your fantasy lineup, it was probably because you picked him up off of the waiver wire and you had like 7 guys either injured or on a bye week, right? You just didn't take a Texans running back. Is Dameon Pierce a guy that might end up on somebody's roster this year?
I think he will. If you look at his career at Florida State, he didn't put up, big numbers at all. I think he had he never had over 600 yards rushing at Florida State. But PFF, they did their premium stats, and they had on here his 92.9 rushing grade is the highest among Power 5 running backs. And you love stuff like this, Willie.
Oh, yeah.
And his 0.45 forced missed tackles per attempt is the best mark of any back with at least 85 carries. So this kid, he can run the football. He didn't put up many yards, but when they do give him the ball, he puts up yardage. He averaged 5.9 yards per attempt, but he only had 517 yards. That was his career high, I guess, at that point. 12 rushing touchdowns. He added some more receiving yards. So this guy is a all-around player. Hence why Houston drafted him their second pick in the 4th round. So what they're seeing in Houston now is what Florida, he played for Florida, I'm sorry. What Florida saw from him. He didn't get the ball as many times as he probably wanted to, but when he got it, he was very effective. That's what he's showing in Houston now, is that when he gets his hands on the football, he's very effective. So he could be a sleeper pick.
Yeah.
In the later rounds, or either, somebody you pick up after the season gets going.
You always take with a grain of salt who does well in the preseason games, but he's doing well. And it is a wide-open position. They're desperate to find players as they rebuild down in Houston. So we'll see what happens. Let me also tell you that we have a stumper so far. We got all incorrect answers so far.
Nobody guessed?
Nick's been under the gun back there because he's got no intern, and every answer has been wrong so far.
Do you want to give more hints?
Do you give me permission to give a hint?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. On this one, I get, yeah.
Yeah. Brett Kern is one of 2 Titans players to have played for every Titans head coach. Brett Kern has been released. Who is the other one? The answer is a guy that was a first-round pick on the defensive side of the ball when Jeff Fisher was still the head coach. 615-737-1025.
Y'all should guess it now.
Tickets to the Blended Festival at the Bicentennial Mall on September 10th is the prize today. The only other player besides Brett Kern to have played for every Titans head coach from
Fisher on.
Jeff Fisher through Mike Vrabel. So be thinking about that. Who was there in the last years of Fisher and the first years of Vrabel? He was a first-round pick on the defensive side of the ball. 615-737-1025. All right, fantasy question number 2. Where the heck is Jimmy Garoppolo going to end up? I was listening to a conversation about him today. And I didn't realize this, but, he's been coming back from the shoulder injury. He's been on the 49ers. John Lynch has said, look, he's available. Trey Lance is going to be the quarterback. So what they've done is they've basically had him working on a separate field. He hasn't really been taking reps. He's still recovering from a shoulder injury. And so I'm kind of cheating because I can't see anybody at this point, unless it's an extremely deep league, actually drafting Jimmy G. But where do you think he's going to end up? How soon do you think he will find a new home?
I don't know. It's odd because I guess a lot of it depended before because he was rehabbing his injury. So no one really wanted to touch him then because they didn't know how the rehab process would go and when he would be back. So that kind of put everything on sort of hold. But now San Fran has given his agent permission to seek a trade. Where he's going to go and when it's going to happen, I don't know. I know I was watching, ESPN, and, they had Cleveland. He's not going to Cleveland. No way, no how. I don't care. Deshaun is gone for 11 games. They're not going to then trade to get Jimmy G to then make him a backup once Watson gets back. They guaranteed this man $230 million. You think they're not going to make him the starter as soon as he's eligible?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Are they waiting? They have to be patient, I guess, if you're the 49ers. I guess they have the salary cap space to keep him there. I know they're dying to move on.
Seattle's a good spot.
See, but we've been waiting for Seattle for a long time. It doesn't look like they're going to go there. So is it going to be a case where somebody loses their quarterback in week 1 and is desperate?
He can go to the Jets. All depends on, or the Giants.
Well,
the Giants.
But those
are in
teams
the
aren't going anywhere. Would Garoppolo make a difference?
I think Garoppolo makes a difference with both of them teams. I'm not saying, okay, Garoppolo goes to the Giants or the Jets and they instantly become, the number one team, to get a playoff spot. No, I think if Jimmy G goes to either one of those places, it does guarantee them at least 2 to 3 more wins with him at the helm.
So that will be something to watch for sure. Now I'm going to check in with Nick. We have a winner now in our Titans trivia contest. The answer is from Georgia Tech, Derek Morgan, the defensive end, the only other Titan besides Brett Kern to have played for every Titans head coach. So Nick, you got flooded with incorrect answers. Who's our winner?
Oh my gosh, I heard a couple of Ryan suck-ups, by the way. But it's Derek Morgan.
Derek Morgan is the answer. Who is our winner?
Justin Johnson is our winner.
Justin Johnson.
All right. When we come back, we'll hit you with the third fantasy question. We'll get Nick involved in it. It has to do with DeAndre Hopkins. And then we'll come down the home stretch of the show and then pass the baton to Jared and Caroline. Stay tuned. You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 The Game.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5"
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus. High temperatures today in the low 90s. Adding in the humidity, feels closer to 100 this afternoon, and the chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms move in this afternoon through this evening and continue through tomorrow morning.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home's value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it, and you can access it with Loan Pronto. They specialize in zero-cost cash-out home refis. Get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. And yes, VA loans are eligible. With a VA loan, you can access up to 100% of your home's value. So pay off high-rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut about $800 or more from their monthly budget. So if your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Hey everybody, Big Joe here for Apple Collision Centers. And you know I'm always on the go, but the distraction that an automobile accident causes could even slow my pace down to a stop. But my friend and CEO of Apple Collision Centers, Stan Harrison, has a plan to get you and I back on the road and fast.
We at Apple Collision Centers know you deserve the best quality service. We always recommend original equipment parts, and we use only the best Sherwin-Williams finishes. 3 convenient locations, Hendersonville, Gallatin, and Oak Hickory. And you can always visit us online for your estimate needs at applecollisioncenters.com.
Celebrate back-to-school season with Hiller. This month only, get free backyard upgrades when you replace essential home systems like a free Traeger grill with a new whole home generator or a free Yeti cooler with a new tankless water heater. And Hiller's keeping you cool for back to school with zero interest financing for up to 12 months on select new HVAC systems. Visit happyhiller.com. Happy you'll be, or the service is free.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
When it's more than just your lawn, it deserves the Kubota Z400. Get a head-turning offer on class-leading speed, agility, simple deck height adjustments, and a quality cut. When you need comfort and performance, then you need the professional-grade Kubota Z400. Right now, get the Kubota Z400 mower for 0 down, 0% APR for 24 months, or save $300. Now through September 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer. 3 locations to serve you: Columbia Kubota, Franklin Kubota, and Krebs Kubota. ColumbiaKubota.com or FranklinKubota.com or KrebsKubota.com.
Jared Stillman.
If you get 3 games where he doesn't turn the ball over, you're going to the Super Bowl.
Caroline Fenton.
I don't know if he would be open to joining another team.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Okay, out of the bullpen, Nick Keyser going with the Wild Thing music.
Wild Thing.
And just a reminder, when we do the trivia question, we are going to do the trivia question, we think, around 1:30 every day as we kind of get into the flow here. It won't always be Titans. But just as a rule, you cannot text in on the text line to win. Now, you can text just to say, I got the right answer, but you can't win the prize. Mm-hmm. Okay, just in case people are wondering, you know, you got to call in. And please don't call in unless you want the prize, right? Different prizes, different days. Mm-hmm. So today's question was good, but there are some people that texted in. Just as a reminder. Now, third fantasy question of the day. I want to know where you guys would pick DeAndre Hopkins. When you do your fantasy draft, and a lot of you will have it this weekend, we know DeAndre Hopkins will not play for the first 6 games, so he's out. Mm-hmm. His average draft position, last I checked, was around 93. So if you are in a 10-team league, that's around the 9th round. If you're in a 12-team league, that's more like the 7th or 8th round. So what would be your strategy on DeAndre Hopkins, who you know once he starts playing, you figure he's going to get a lot of balls thrown his way. So let me start with you, Derek. What are you thinking?
See, man, I got a fantasy draft tonight, and I know Nick's trying. He wants me to see what I'm going to do. I
all
see
of
why
your
he said that, Nick. I see. Let me.
So
Mason, you go first. Yeah.
You guys are scouting each other out a little bit here. You guys are in the same league.
Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah.
Okay. Table talk.
I wouldn't draft him until late, because there are enough good receivers out there that you should have your pick of plenty. Even if you're playing in a 10 or 12 person league, you should be able to get 2 guys that you feel comfortable with, and he can be your third in the later rounds, because you're gonna have to. You can't pick him too early, because what if someone gets hurt and you got a guy on your roster that can't play anyway? So he has to be like one of your late round guys.
Okay. Nick, do you concur?
Okay.
And are you giving us a straight answer, or is this just a
No. I'm giving you something good. I had him last year, Willie, and I'm not really sold on getting him again this year. Mm-hmm. A lot like Ezekiel Elliott for myself. I don't think I'm going to go get him. I don't really see the value in it this season. I mean, they've both regressed. D-Hop's going to be out for 6 games. I don't want him. I really don't. I think he's obviously going to be a good target for them when he comes back, but I'm not interested in picking him up.
Okay,
Jedi mind trick.
So if he's available in the 8th round, the 9th round, you're still going with maybe a younger guy with upside?
I think so.
Okay.
I really think so.
Something everybody might have to consider when they have their draft this week, later this week.
coming up Labor Day weekend. Okay, good fantasy questions today. Let's hit this before we go, Derek. I know a lot of people may not have caught every one of your roster things here, but you being the wide receiver, you've been watching these guys closely. A lot of people seem to be centering in on perhaps Cody Hollister versus Dez Fitzpatrick as a roster decision. If we feel like Racey McMath is in with his special speed and his ability to contribute to special teams, it looks like it's coming down to Fitzpatrick or Hollister. Who do you like there?
Yeah, and we had TD on earlier, Teron Davenport. And, Teron said Dez seems more like a guy that will make the team. I just don't think I'm not going to say he's not going to make it or not. I think it is between Dez Fitzpatrick, Reggie Roberson, and sort of Mason Kinsey.
Yeah, we're throwing these guys.
Exactly.
Those guys are also other names.
Absolutely. So I think
Chase, for example, he likes Hollister. He's going with him. When Fitzpatrick dropped the passes on the final drive and they scored anyway, he didn't help himself. But it reminded me of something you had been saying. You had noticed he'd been dropping some passes.
Yeah.
Dropping passes for him has been somewhat of an issue during camp, even though everybody – remember, he won the offseason awards for his hard work. He looks the part, right? When you were out there, he looks like he's got some good tools, big frame, etc. But I did think about that when – you always wonder, does one play, even though it's a meaningless preseason game, does that swing a vote?
I think it can. I mean, he had two opportunities, I think, to solidify his spot on this team. The first pass that Woodside threw to him in en route, about 12 yards, I think it was on third down, it went right through his hands. I know it was a little fastball, but it was catchable. It touched your hands, you should have caught it. And then the touchdown pass. He did come back and catch a ball, but then a touchdown pass. Nice route, excellent pass by Woodside, right in the breadbasket. He should have just caught it with his hands, but he tried to catch it with his arms, and it being all sweaty, it just bounced right off his arm. So he didn't help himself this past game, but he was there. He is their former fourth-round pick. He do possess some skills that they do like. But the starter, the guys that I see on this roster at this particular time, obviously Robert Woods, Nick Westbrook-Akine, Kyle Phillips, Traylon Burks, Racey McMath. That's 5. So whether they keep 6 or 7, if they keep 6, I think it's between Dez, Roberson, and Hollister. Mason Kinsey could be in the mix. I like what he did this past weekend. But if they're going with 7, then I think Dez is a no-brainer, but then who's the 7th guy?
I've thought this too, and I have no idea of how I would answer it, but they seem to have the ability to keep these guys hanging around. Like these 91 players, right? There was plenty of guys that were there last year who were in camp this year that they used in some games last year. Jones is one of them, the linebacker, who you love his hustle. They play the heck out of him during these games. I don't know if he'll make the roster, but if he doesn't, I know he's just a phone call away, but the question is who of these guys that they're going to cut? Brett Kern is the obvious one, right? He'll probably get some phone calls from other teams starting like right now. But are there other guys in the mix that you wonder if they cut them, they will get snapped up? Like we have this discussion today. We don't think anybody will pick up Logan Woodside. We don't think.
No.
Would anybody pick up Kinsey or Hollister?
I think so.
Or Sammy Kalu or some of these other guys on the bubble?
I think if they choose not to go with Mason Kinsey, I think someone else will pick him up. If they choose not to go with Dez Fitzpatrick, I think someone will pick him up. I don't think they can cut them and expect to put them on a practice squad. Well, I don't think they can cut them, expect no one to claim them, and then put them on a practice squad. I think if you cut guys like, Mason Kinsey, because he has proven that he can catch passes in this league. He's not a starter. But he can put in a position he can succeed. Dez Fitzpatrick is another one. So whether they keep 6 or 7, depends on possibly even what they do at other positions.
2 quick notes before we turn it over to Jared and Caroline. They'll have plenty of Titans discussion for you. A quick shout-out to the Nolensville Little League team. We had some great conversations with their coaching staff and even their young shortstop, But just a great tournament for them. They lost in the consolation game yesterday. I thought in the U.S. final, they played the eventual champion, Hawaii, tougher than anybody did in the entire tournament. The level of play that they had was really noteworthy. Just a bunch of guys that are on their way, I think, to some good things, whether it's on the baseball field or somewhere else. I enjoyed the heck out of watching them play. They represented so well.
They did an excellent job. They didn't come up with the win, but they played much tougher the second game than they did the first
and that's a great thing to grow
Absolutely.
on.
And shout out to the Hot Shots, my niece's volleyball team. They swept last week. They came back and they won 2 out of 3 this week. So, Hot Shots. Let's go.
Good for them.
Guess who's the coach? Ken Amato.
Ken Amato, the former Titan?
Yes, he's the coach of Lennon's volleyball team.
Where did he learn how to coach volleyball?
His daughter plays, too.
Okay.
So, I don't know. But he has those seriously, those kids, because he was the coach last year, too. From last year to this year, big improvement.
I love
Ken
it.
has them watching film all the time, I assume.
Good stuff. And I'm going to lay this out for Jared as he comes in. First time since the All-Star break yesterday that the Mets and Braves lost on the same day. That's how well both of those teams have played. So they both lost yesterday. The Mets maintain a 3-game lead. They have the night off, and they play the Dodgers starting tomorrow. The Dodgers seem to never lose. They just don't lose. I don't care how many pitchers get hurt, players get hurt, they just keep winning. So key week coming on in that great Braves-Mets race as we move forward.
Quickly, Mason Kinsey has been released.
Yes. So he's out there. We'll see if they can maneuver him to the practice squad. All right. Jared and Caroline will have more coverage for you in a moment. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 10 a.m. here on 102.5 The Game.
We out.
You watch The Game.
Line to left, coming on Newstrom, base hit, Soundsman.
We talk The Game.
But they knew he'd be really good. Well, if they don't make that move, they don't win those championships.
We